Hello! You are watching Season 5 of the Fortnite Champions Series for Oceania, presented by the Australian Open. My name is Vandy, and I'm going to be your host for today of Day 1 of the semi-finals. And I'm once again joined by my amazing analysts, Fallout and Timmy. Guys, how are you? New week, but this time, no more qualifiers. We're straight into the semis.
Vandy, I'm doing so incredibly well. Semifinals, I am so hyped. We got the best of the best in Oceania. This is probably the most stacked heat that we're going to have on broadcast here in heat number 2. Heat 1 was a pleasure to watch as well. So I'm doing great. Australian Open is obviously synonymous with a great time with Fortnite Down Under. So I'm excited for the action today.
And Timmy, how about yourself? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, feeling really good. Just come off watching Heat 1. There were some really good games, really good stories. So looking forward to seeing more of that in Heat 2.
Good. I'm glad that neither of you did any spoilers because, of course, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about how Heat 1 went today. But Fallout, before we can jump into this, I'm going to need your help. I need you to explain to the viewers at home how the tournament structure has worked. Because now that we're in semis, perhaps, someone's joining us for the first time. Perhaps they've been with us the whole journey. Let's just do a refresher, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. I said the best of the best in semis. Well, it's because of this format, right? It was an open qualifier format in Oceania region. We had some Middle East teams play as well. They, of course, had to grind their way through the first round, the qualifiers, for the last 3 weeks. Each qualifier had 4 rounds in it, so you had to truly prove that you were the best in your respective qualifier. The top 132 teams qualified through to the semifinals today and tomorrow, where we have had 4 heats competing. The top 8 from each heat, well, they'll make it. They'll punch their ticket to the grand finals. The bottom 9th through 16th from each heat, they'll make it to what's called the Reboot round, which is a last chance opportunity, a winner-take-all, one-game opportunity to make it to the grand finals. I'm excited for that. That'll be at the end of the broadcast tomorrow, so make sure to set your calendars. And of course, that'll lead us to the March 13th grand finals, a 2-day affair where we will find the true best of the best trios lobby in Oceania, and crown our Chapter 2 Season 5 FNCS champions. I could not be more excited to watch the action here in semis and, of course, to the grand finals as well, Vandy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fallout, for, of course, explaining that, because it's really important to find out how this all works. But Timmy, this is now where I borrow you, because, of course, no tournament would be complete without points. We need to know exactly how these teams are going to punch their ticket into the grand finals, what we're scoring them on, and what players are playing for, essentially. How do they get to the top?
Yeah, so the format is going to be the same as what we've seen over the qualifying weeks. So what you see there is it's 30 points for a victory royale, but going down the points there, second 25, third 20, and then fourth is worth 14 points. So what we're seeing there is a really top-heavy distribution, meaning that if you're getting first through third, you're actually getting more than half the placement points. That really makes height a really viable strategy because height's really dominant this season. So people who play on height will get rewarded by getting placement points, but if you see down bottom right of your screen there, 2 points per elim. Now that gives some legitimacy to those players who are good playing through mid-ground, where elims are more easy to find. So you're going to see a nice variety in play style that gets rewarded, Vandy.
We've already seen exactly that. We've seen plenty of different play styles coming through. We've even seen some old school methods like the heel-offs coming in 1 or 2 rounds. So keen to see how this is all going to play out. One more thing that we need to cover, of course, and it's probably the most important one if you're me, prizes. And Fallout, again, I'm going to be using you to help us out. How many dollary dues are at stake here?
$90,000 dues, Vandy, to be precise, in the grand finals here, which is amazing. The Australian Open brought the largest prize pool that Oceania and Australia has ever seen 2 years ago and last year with the Summer Smash. And guess what? Another $90,000 at stake here. First place is $22,500. Second place, $15,000. Third place, $9,000. Then going all the way down to 15th place, who will walk home with $900. And keep in mind, this is in US dollars. So Australian dollars, that'll be about $120,000 total in prize pool, a significant prize pool at stake. But one thing that's important to note, this prize pool is for the grand finals only, which gives it the feeling of almost like a major, an S-tier type event. You have to try and make it. You have to qualify through to the finals for a chance to compete for that prize pool, Vandy, which I love. I absolutely love the format from Epic.
I love it too. I'm just thinking about how many new laser beam skin bundles I could buy with that $1 dues.
Quite a few, actually.
Quite a few. You could get some for the mates, everything like that. But guys, I did allude that we were going to be bringing up a summary of Heat number 1 if you were unable to watch it. But before I get into that, I've got an interview here from Taylor Fritz. He is the number 1 ranked US men's player at the draw this year, and he's also a big gamer. So take a look at this video that he was kind enough to prepare for us.
I don't know, I feel like I am annoying people just posting about my gaming because they're like, hey, just shut up and play tennis. But you know. I love what AO is doing, kind of combining this massive sporting event with massive gaming event. So it's, you know, it's really cool to kind of see the worlds collide, especially for me. The first year I'd say Fortnite came out, like that was like took over my life. So let me think, like Lachlan, Loser Fruit, Muselk, like those are just some of the ones top of my head that I know. It's not like I can compete with those guys, but it's just from an interest standpoint, you know, it's something that I think is just really cool.
Big chill. The RPG, the bouncer up as well. They have so much firepower. Fab's gonna go down first. That's the biggest knock we could have asked for here, Aussie, and it should be a walk away, and it will be.
Hey guys, Taylor Fritz here, and you're watching the OCE Fortnite's Champions Series event at the Australian Open.
I just love that. I mean, I love seeing when athletes show us their hobby side, essentially, or their gamer side. And he's got a Twitch channel that he streams to regularly. He's also an investor in some gaming teams. So for him, I think gaming is also more of that passion alongside tennis. And I absolutely love that Fallout.
Yeah, you and I both. Investor in Rect Global. Big shot to Rect Global. Awesome to see his affiliation and involvement in esports. And he's been dubbed by CNN as the future of American tennis. We'll see if he lives up to that hype. But amazing that he's such a hardcore gamer. I love that he gave so much respect to Muselk, to Laserbeam. And like, it was awesome to see his respect for Fortnite.
I think so. It's just a big part of his life. But guys, this is, I suppose, where it starts becoming real. So I'll go ahead and I'll put up the results from heat number 1. And Timmy, I'd be interested to seeing when we do have those results on screen, is there anything that kind of jumps out to you, or did this kind of play out the way you expected?
Played out exactly how I expected. So our week 1 winners, Sorif, Sink, and Volks coming in first. No surprises there for me whatsoever. Absolutely dominant performance from them. Danathosaurus and Skits coming in second. Suns, Tui, and Cork in third. Shocker, Midnight, and Tekmar in fourth. And then Peak, Box, and Best Player coming in at fifth there, Fallout.
He really is the best player. And as we flip to the second page, the only shocker that I had was Repulse, Tyrax, and Co. not placing within the top 5. They got 8th place. Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax, you'll see them right there in 8th. They're the ones that really stick out to me the most in 6th through 10th. But we know that this team absolutely frags and shows up when it really matters. They were just looking to qualify a spot with a spot, which they did. I'm excited to see them in the grand finals, Timmy, as we take a look at 11th through 15th.
Yeah, and just to add to that, there was actually some issues with Repulse's PC today. So the fact that they got on for 5 games is actually quite incredible. But as we go through the rest of these games here, Reckless, Bluesy, and Lazy, one of the most consistent teams in the qualifying stage, is not quite making it through there in 12th. Flerogue, Frog, and Sanjog in 11th. Bliss, Dente, and Wavy Maloxty, who actually end up winning a game today, the 4th game, don't quite make it through, so showing that it's not all about those wins, it's about being consistent. Mobile player, Monox and Zadia in 14th, and then Yonder, Quillet, and Orzo in 15th.
My only question, Timmy, is GLM mobile player actually a mobile player, or is he just trolling all of us?
I think he's just trolling your Fallout.
Something tells me competing at FNCS would be tough to do on mobile, but big shout to any mobile players out there. Kudos to y'all. 16th through 20th here. You see a couple teams that performed well in the qualifiers. I see the 20th place team right there, Skywick, Bugsy, and Effie, not able to qualify through or make it, unfortunately, to the reboot round. Fizz, Toggle, and Zwitty, another team that we were really looking forward to continue to talk about their story. They're the team from the Middle East that we saw week in and week out. They unfortunately did not make it to the 9th through 16th spot. As you see, Cade, BCMD, and Neumann is the team that did not make it either. So they will not be participating in the reboot round. This is goodbye for them. Unfortunate ending, but my hat goes off to them for some very solid performances and putting on a show week in and week out, Vandy.
Mm-hmm. It was unfortunate because we were so excited to perhaps see them in that reboot round, but wasn't meant to be. Never mind, there's going to be plenty more chances, but we've seen the results. What I've also got for you guys is, of course, some highlights from heat number 1 today. So, of course, this is for anyone that missed out on them. They were, again, played a little bit earlier today. We've got 4 heats in total. So this is heat number 1, and then, of course, we'll be bringing you heat number 2. But this is, Timmy, perhaps where I'd like to get your big brain analysis, and also for you, Fallout, and just kind of talk us through these moments, these highlights and of earlier today.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing to note from what we're going to see here is lots of final zones coming down. So we're going to see a few heel-offs even as mid-ground has started to work out their win condition. Height's really dominant, so you need to have some heel game if you're going to play mid-ground, if you want to really try and secure that win. But we're also going to see a lot of Volks, Sink, and Sorif, a really versatile team who, as you can see here, are happy playing the mid-ground but can also play that high-ground Fallout.
Yeah, that's right. You'll see Volks with 4 eliminations. Take a look at Sink, though. He almost nearly matches that here in a second. They ended up getting second place in this game, but it was a pop-off game for them, the amount of eliminations that they got, especially with this format where every elimination is worth 2 points. It becomes so much more important. You'll see Sink continue to pop off from 1 elimination to 3 real quick. They end up getting second, though, as unfortunately Sink, of course, on the low ground, dwindling down in HP, will get eliminated from that heal-off. Not able to win that one, but a very high elimination game for them, Timmy.
Yeah, and there you go. Here they are in another game. So second in the second game, and then first in the third game here. Fallout. The consistency is what I really want to point out, and it's a big reason as to why they won by so far. Is because they put a good performance in basically every game, and that's what wins you championships. That's why these guys won week 1, and why they're one of the favorites to win in finals next week.
Yeah, that's right. Consistency is key, especially in these really, really competitive semifinals. He ends up winning it from a heel-off right there. And then, of course, this is game number 5 here. We saw Shocker, Midnight, and Tekmar. Take a look at their eliminations. Right now, they're sitting at 9. Well, guess what? That increases significantly. They end up with 13 eliminations here in game 5, which I believe was the highest elimination single game that we saw in heat number 1. Shocker, Tekmar, and Midnight absolutely popping off here, Timmy, with a very, very good individual and high elimination performance.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure if people have seen on Twitter, there sounds like there was a few personal issues with this team, but they managed to pull through and end up qualifying, so that's really good to see. Maybe some issues being put aside, but there you go, seeing the kill feed there again. Sorif popping up again. These guys coming through with just crazy good consistent performances as they take away the win on that game as well. And then in the final game here, we're going to see one of Aussie's picks. I think it was from week 2, end up take away the Victory Royale. But again, the important thing to point out, how consistent these guys are across a range of playstyles, playing the absolute ultimate low ground now. Look at those elims there. Fallout. Remember, 2 points per elim, so no matter how these guys play, they're going to be getting points. But as I said, Osiris, Daneth, and Skits actually are the ones who take the Victory Royale in Game 6 here.
They are, but look at the eliminations here from Volks, Sink, and Sorf. No surprise why they won this tournament so much. So we've seen them so many times on screen here. We've seen them consistently in the top 3. Great placements overall, high eliminations. But in the end, you're right, it was Aussie's kind of dark horse pick from last qualifier, Osiris, Daneth, and Skits, that did take the last game Victory Royale. They ended up getting second place in the heat as well. So hats off to both of those teams.
It was pretty cool to see how close you guys have been going week on week on predictions, and sometimes it's been too close to call. But with heat number 2 right around the corner, of course, this is predictions time again. We've updated them to see exactly what our casters and what our analysts think, or who is going to come and qualify into our finals. So let's bring them up on screen, and then Timmy, I want you to kind of explain your thought process. Why? The madness.
Yeah, so, well, I only see 2 teams here, which is actually a big surprise to me. I think Heat 2 is probably one of the more stacked heats out of the lot. We've got lots of really good teams in this one, Fallout. And obviously, I've gone with Speedy, Looter, and Muds. To me, they're going to be the most consistent trio in Heat 2 here. They know how to play mid-ground. They know how to play height. They know how their mid-game rotations work. Speedy's got a huge brain. He's got 2 of the most unbelievably mechanical players next to him. Why'd you go with Jinx, Alec, and Worthy over them?
Listen, you got to put some respect to the GOAT's name, all right? Jinx and Worthy, the 2 winningest players in Oceania. They have dominated. Reigning champion, of course, in Jinx from the last FNCS. It's just hard to bet against these guys. It's almost like betting against, a top football player or anything along the lines. Jinx really is that guy, the king of Oceania in my eyes. So it turns out, Timmy, we got like Team Fossey versus Team Monster D Timmy, as we're going to be teaming up here. Me and Aussie versus MDF and Timmy on screen. Would love to hear your thoughts in the chat. Who do you think's going to take it? Would love to hear whether you're on Team Fossey or Team Monster D Timmy. But a couple other teams you got to keep an eye out for. I'd be remiss to not mention Fresh, Rel, Nubatoon, of course, Mr. Fresh Asian competing in this one. Also, Jalen, Zora, and Squeaks. One of the most experienced teams in the lobby, like you said, an absolutely stacked lobby. Timmy, any dark horse teams, though, that you're looking out for?
I think it'd be unbelievable to not mention Basil Jason Vortex, one of the best mid-ground, low-ground teams in the world right now. And absolutely ridiculous performance in week 1 from them. A few mistakes here and there, but I don't expect them to make the same mistakes. And another team to watch out for, Prizzy, Raptor, and Oatly had a really good week 3, and they had a really, really good Cash Cup as well. So they're showing that they're developing, they're looking at improving no matter what the sort of play style is. They've got a really good Cash Cup play style, and they can adapt that, I think, to FNCS heats here today.
plenty of teams to keep an eye out. That's exactly what I'm kind of, expected, especially from heat number 2. But I'm really keen to see and hear from our casters. Of course, let's go check in with them. Let's also hear about their predictions, because the way I see it, it's like, one on each analysis team, one on each of the casters team. You're all banking for the same guys, but it's just cool to see. Anyway, let's chuck it over and let's check in with Aussie Antics and Monster. Guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Vandy. I appreciate it. I mean, I was going to maybe try and pull out a dark horse pick again, but I like the fact that my dark horse pick did so well, so I look so smart, so I had to go with it. I had to go with the safe trio chance. But yes, welcome, guys. We'll be your caster tonight. Aussie Antics, Monster Deface, Monster. You picked Muzz's team. Obviously, you went with the big brain Timmy call. No one's going to question it, but what was your exact thought process? Did you have anything to add, or he covered it perfectly?
No, listen, I saw what happened, especially the first time I casted OCE. I should have known better. I should have just trusted in Timmy and all the words that he was throwing out there about the squad. So I was like, I took a deeper look and I was like, hey, this time coming, I won't make the same mistake. Definitely putting my money on the big Muzz, Looter, Speedy here. Like Timmy was alluding to, right? You're talking about a mechanical team led by a smart player. Like, that is just the perfect recipe. Yeah. We saw the heats, though. In particular, this heat is going to be one of the more exciting ones. Obviously, heat 1 turned out to be close as well. First place, Volks and crew dusted things away, but let's catch up the community on what's going on.
Yeah, Heat 1 was intense. If you guys missed it, I was watching it on stream. It was crazy. We had a bit of drama there. I mean, Tim, you already alluded to it. Repulse having PC issues into game 1, missing game 1, needing to then qualify in 5 games. They managed to do it. I hope everyone loads into game 1 as we are loading up. The battle bus is getting ready now. We have game 1 underway, and man, this is going to be an absolute cracker. If you look at the heat list for OC especially, I would have to say Heat 2 is the most stacked, Monster.
Yes, sir. This is a stacked heat. Take a look at the battle map going down right here. Right now, we see Nubatoon also on the left side there with Rel and company. Already, though, a little bit of a tag fest going on for Russian and crew, who's got the Colossal Coliseum to themselves. This is a perfect spot to have, especially uncontested. That's going to work out well for them. But Caddy Corner has multiple squads there, too.
Yeah, I'm liking this split that I'm seeing right now. Some upsets that I wasn't expecting as well. We have Chances, Overstrand, and Fun in the middle of the map. It's a team that kind of gets, slated as the content creator team a little bit more. They found a good part of the map in the middle. No one's really heavily contested like I was expecting, except for it looks like Salty Towers is where the major battle is going down. Seeing Squeaks and Jarlin move their way into Sweaty is looking really good, especially for Fresh's team down in Holy Hedges. That's a team that's smart, but isn't going to be looking to take too many tags, as we have 6 players going the Shark, though. Now, that is very surprising. Coral Castle, completely uncontested. 6 players going Shark, which makes sense, though. You can't really go Shark and split Coral Castle unless your whole team goes there. As we now see, it is Team Kunai just trying to take down Team Kami here, and Adwog falling here early on. So Kunai goes down. This is looking like it's a 3v1, and Lur has to do something big.
This is going to be one of those personal draw spots that we're going to watch throughout the 6 games that are unfold here. You can already see the back and forth, and no one's going to let that go. It's not going to let that slide. In OC in particular, right? Players do like to hold on to, I'd say, how do I say it? The ego, right? Putting it nicely here, right? You want to fight for your drop and hold it out. Yeah. But in heats, you don't want to be the squad left behind, right? You need top 8 now.
You do need top 8. And at the same time as well, OC, again, a region we talked about that does have that bit of a skill discrepancy where those top players really are on another level. And you want to establish yourself as one of those players. You want to be able to say, hey, look, I know it's a smaller region, but I'm one of the best in this region. And Lur has to do something big now. 2 players beneath him, doesn't have any shield. The material's going to be running thin, and there's no extra material up there as well. Kunai's fallen, and the only issue with this is going to be the reboot and how they're going to be able to play this one out, because they've got Coral Castle to loot. They have the time, but there's a very far pull. We see this map right now. At least it is on that western side of the map. It is a southwestern pull, as Lur's trying to do as much damage as they can. I like this. Lur's playing this well, keeping the distance, because with only 2 ARs in the back pocket, 21 bullets combined, I believe is what I'm seeing here. Not a lot to work with.
Yeah, and the worst one of the bulk, the heavy AR, is the one that's loaded up here. He's running out of ammunition, running out of health. And there it is. He does get wiped up. Little take the L for the good salt and the wounds there. And now 2v situation. Kunai being the one that's down. They have the card. They have the shields. They should be able to get this pick up here shortly. On the other side, though, more action unfolding up towards the Salty Towers. Teams are rotating on in.
Yeah, Salty Towers fight's always an interesting as one. There's enough buildings where you can all kind of split, get your loot, and like this, you can take a fight. I believe Ripple's team, based on their movement and getting those 0-point crystals, I think they may have used those to go utilize the slurp truck that was nearby to get their full shield up. So I like that strategy though, but Djokovic is going to try and get in here using, there we go, the 0-point to try and phase through some of these builds potentially. A harpoon and a well-placed jump can actually get you in the base. Piri's now going to try and do something, and Djokovic needs to close this one out. It's a 3v2. The team that's inside the base boxing up, it favored them. They played defensive. They sat inside. They didn't get too aggressive. As I say that, those steps up, and Piri puts the heavy AR to use. They've got the meds to close this one out, Djokovic's team, but they don't have the numbers.
Yeah, interesting that Djokovic and company are still trying to sit this one out and actually battle for it. Now they're going to have to fight their way not only through this battle, but to the reboot card as well, right? You got to be able to pick that up. So here it is. Taker now swinging around. Djokovic is going to get tagged again. And yeah, it's going to be an all-out battle for high ground here. Djokovic is going to control it for the most part, but just take a look at the AR shots. They're faster, they're more accurate, and they're winning this fight by a mile.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, as soon as they boxed up early and they took the fight into the box fight, I knew they had a bit more of the experience. They weren't feeling pressured. They played it defensive. A lot of people see that as a sign of being scared, but no, having the thought process as a full trio to get inside the box and play on your own terrain, it really is such a big advantage as we get eyes on, you know, one of the teams, if I'd say the most pressure on them today, just because of the same popularity. Fresh, just coming off the back of his 19th birthday as well, trying to have a big performance here. Didn't make grand finals last FNCS. That was usually due to a bit of a team split drama towards the end. I'm sure him, Rel, and Nuberton will be able to clutch up a top 8. But like I said earlier, this is one of the tougher regions to do it in. Sorry, one of the tougher heats of this region, because there's some big names in here. There's about 5 or 6 teams that I would be very surprised if any of them don't make top 8. And when you think about it, it's Fortnite. It's a battle royale at the end of the day. If 1 or 2 of them have a bad day, that's all it's going to take. There's a lot of people who are going to push that top 8 quite heavy.
Yeah, you know, if it's not their day, if the zones aren't going in their favor and things just, you know, sometimes it's out of your control, right? It only takes a couple of games to really set you off. So we'll see how it ends up unfolding. And like you mentioned, the more stacked the heat, the more likely we are to see upsets, right? So there's already a huge handful of squads that we should and want to see make it a grand finals, but anything can happen in Fortnite.
Anything can happen. I mean, Repulse's team, the one we've seen just walking through entire teams in the qualifiers, just really just having fun with it, almost like it was an arena game. They ended up coming in 8th place. We talked about it. Repulse did have some tech issues game 1. It came down to game 5, but still, that is a team that, honestly, I was saying it on stream, I probably would have put the pressure on them to qualify in 2 or 3 games. So the fact it came down to 5 and they just got 8th was ridiculous. Remember, we do have the reboot round. We touched on that in the pre-show. If you're not entirely sure how that's working, we did cover it off there, but maybe you just tuned in. It is going to be the top 8 teams from the 4 heats is going to go through to the grand finals, which is going to be taking place next weekend across 2 days, 6 games on each day. That makes 32 teams. That 33rd team is going to be picked up through the reboot round. Monster, it's our favorite to cast. It is all the teams that come from 9th to 16th. Whoever gets the victory royale in that one game is going to go through. Not most points, the victory royale. It's honestly just battle royale at its finest.
Yeah, that reboot round is definitely so exciting. And like you said, it's battle royale at its finest, right? It's all that matters, the prestigious win being on the line. Take a look here, though. Link's going to find a nice little lucky drop, but I'm here to really cap them off. Not forget the ammunition you pick out of it. Yeah, this is perfect.
Coming out of Camp COD, already having the good loot in the inventory. That is looking really good for them. We saw Spraz, Pace, and Remy up here as well. This is our retail row team. They dropped caddy corners in the qualifying week. We watched them. Ran into our Southeast Asia contingent, Toggles, Witty, and Fizz, who actually didn't manage to make top 8, unfortunately, in Heat 1 today. But they kind of had a rough time of it out of caddy. They've switched their drop to retail, and things are looking a bit better for them. Set up right next to them, placing well as we see Basil, Vortex, and Jace in the bottom. And that's who Timmy put on as the dark horse pick to win this. And honestly, I have to agree with Timmy there. I was tempted to pick them for another dark horse win. Within OCE, people know how strong they are. Outside of OCE, though, this trio is really stepping up to make a big name for themselves. They play that mid and low ground layer so incredibly well. If you're an NA East fan, I'd have to liken it to maybe Centered Edgy Commandment. Little bit of kind of, I don't know, good old Bucky Creo Kanata back in the days. Being confident to play the mid ground layers as well, but almost never going for height. Just the confidence to fight their way through those layers. It's ridiculous.
That's the thing about those mid and low ground layers. Picking up all those eliminations will really allow you to propel yourself upwards. And let's not forget the way these formats have been favoring those early eliminations in particular, right? Things can really work out well. Obviously, this time around now, you know, you need the placement points, of course, to go along with it. So it's not going to be just heavy elims. You're gonna need a little bit of everything if you want to qual through. Top 8 is it's a long shot. It's far off, right? You're gonna need some real good games.
Yeah, you're going to need some real good games. With chances, Overstrand, and Fun. I put a bit of pressure on them as the content creator team coming into this. Obviously, that is what they're known for. Overstrand, one of the biggest up-and-coming streamers out of OCE. Love the content, kind of preaching that positivity vibes as well. Chances, obviously, Lachlan's brother and very well known in his own right as a content creator too. So they've made it in here, and I honestly think they could be upsets to push towards that top 8 if they get things together. Either way, I'm excited to see how well they do because I know they're just going to see it as practice. I mean, Monster, we've watched this so many times. NA, we had Nick Merckx coming back, Cypher PK, Nick 30. I mean, you don't want to just kind of put them in the realms of content creators because they're so phenomenal, but it is so fun watching someone who predominantly makes content step up and play competitive because it just makes you care about them that much more.
Yeah, definitely. And you got these mega fan bases, right? Supporting them and backing them. So there's something about that enthusiasm from the community. Something about when you have a community supporting you and wanting to see you do well. It just elevates the entire experience. Similar to Fresh on screen here is getting a little bit of pressure. Kind of concerned the fact they're hiding in wood builds though.
Yeah, a little bit concerning there as well. But if you've ever watched this team play, which obviously Fresh has been massive about, you said content creator streaming all the scrims. He's been playing in the CPL, Kano Pro League Pro scrims all this season, really taking it quite seriously. Definitely favorites to qualify. I feel bad. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of upset fans out there that none of us on the casting and analyst desk picked them. I would not be surprised at all to see this team win it today, but I just had to go with the trio FNCS champs. But Rel, if you've ever had the beauty of watching him, he really is one of the smarter players in OC and also just in the world in general. My man really does hit the VODs and loves looking at the game on a theoretical level. So I'm having faith in them here today. Decent first zone. I think they're set up on the edge because since they were uncontested Holly, they need their surge tags and they weren't able to find them in Holly. So I think they went for an edge setup and there it is, the car. So that explains the wood builds and the positioning. They just wanted to get a few tags and then book it in the car to get further center.
Said Rel plays smart. Only time will tell as now they're on the move here. No, Fresh gets hit with what looked like a sniper. Several body tags at the follow-up as well. And all of a sudden he is down again. This is the second time in a row now he's gotten beamed for all this HP here.
Yeah, he's been beamed for a lot of damage here, trying to make their way in, and it's not good. I'm just putting a lot of pressure on him here. I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, saying how good they're looking. As knows Rel's rocking the turtle back bling. Rel known as the old man turtle of the OCE scene, but hopefully he's got a plan here, because yeah, he's going to have to pop the peppers early to make this foot rotate, and it was our power contingent with Overstrain and Chances that was holding them down, and there it is, the Storm Surge indicator. Only 119 above. That is why this team is on the edge. That is why they're trying to do their damage, and Rel is trying to very aggressively carry this Storm Surge threshold right now, just standing out in the open, taking shots.
Yeah, they're all on Pepper Effect right now. So cool to watch from the spectator side of things as he's just moving quick, staying agile, putting those shots down, and all of a sudden it works out for them. And although they lost a lot of, I'd say, shield resources right coming into it, it actually worked out pretty decent. They needed those tags overall. Otherwise, they would have had to have fought any ways. And now you can see so many other teams already looking. They've been based up and situated. It's a south pool, so this is two zones coming down south. Now is where you really want to try and get to that center location, right? Get comfortable, get in the middle. But most importantly, for them only being 100 up above the surge, Aussie, you know they're going to have to keep fighting.
Yeah, and if you go too far center, all those teams around Slurpee are going to be boxed up in those buildings. Not a lot of them open up for tags. If you have the sniper, Nubatoon being very well known in OC as a phenomenal sniper with that. Again, if you watch Fresh's streams, you know when Nubatoon hits a headshot sniper. It's a very, very loud audio cue, I'm going to say, that comes out of Nubatoon, but they could maybe get their sniper. Yeah, they want to go center, but unfortunately, that's not a lot above. Again, Jace's team here, 314, looking good. And all credit to this team. This is a team that's coming out of craggy cliffs. They've had a far south pool. They've situated themselves phenomenally in zone, and they're 300 above. Again, that is why I'm talking about this team being a dark horse. Craggy, if it has any weakness at all, it is definitely Storm Surge tags. Even on the rotates out, you kind of usually hit the car, hit the boat up the river. You really just in the valley the whole way out. You don't ever have that elevation or those positions to get tags. So seeing them above, this is playing into their game plan perfectly. If they can have a good game here, you know they're going to have a good tournament, because this is about as difficult of a zone as they're going to get.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough zone to play off of. And again, it's going to pull a little bit further here. So everyone's going to have to move once again. It's going to be a blessing and a curse, right? If you get held out, that's a problem. If you get the tags on the rotate, that's where it works out in your favor. Here and now, you can see teams that don't need to worry too much. Vortex and company. Other players, though, trying to make an early move. That's probably the best play at this point, especially if you do not need to fight right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to try and pick when you're going to take your fights right now. They got to make this rotate. I don't know if they had a vehicle, but this is looking pretty rough, and a lot of teams are held up in front of them. And because it's going past that Slurpee, they could maybe hit more of a rotate onto this backside. I'm not really sure what's going on here. The team's getting hit by Surge. Basil, Vortex, and Jace. You have two options when a team near you is getting hit by Surge. Do you base up and hold them against your walls? Nah. Basil, Vortex, and Jace get in. We're talking about how they're going to get there. What are they going to do? How are they going to get more of their Surge? They're just going to mow through an entire trio. 3 eliminations on the board now. 600 above. And as much as it's going to be a nice little refresh, their loot was already stacked. They don't gain much loot-wise, Monster, but the eliminations, 2 points a pop and the Storm Surge, they won't be too upset about that, as this is a brutal zone. Half of it's in the water, Monster.
Yeah, this is a rough one. I hope you brought your towels, because it's going to be a wet one here on the edge. Everyone's going to have to base up on this outer skirt. I don't think I've ever seen a zone like this. This is like reminiscent of the rig days, and that rig is no longer there. So the pile up is going to be real here.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be rough. Yeah, everyone's going to be kind of clinging to those edges, those little bits of landmass they can find. Worthy, Jinx, and Rel make... Oh, there it is. Nubatoon, Rel, and Fresh actually getting hit by Surge right now. That's why the damage is coming out. I think they're looking for someone to find. Unless Nubatoon was getting shot at the same time. No, Fresh is getting chunked up as well. Sight, Suts, and Gaze here, I think it's Cuts, actually. This is not good. They're all getting hit, and they've ran into Noob, Jinx, Powerworthy, and Wavy Alec, which is obviously our previous FNCS champions. Not the team you want to run into when you're getting pressured by Surge. So looks like Team Rel is already heavily wounded here. I don't know if Fresh is still alive in the mix of this. No, Rel will fall as well. So it's either just Nubatoon or the entire trio has been wiped. No, never mind. Fresh is Nubatoon here. Fresh managed to survive that engagement. I say it wrong. Only Rel's gone down, but 33 builds, not the spot you want to be in, especially with a zone that wasn't that bad of a zone, Monster. They're a Holy Hedges team. This is not a rough zone for them.
Yeah, somehow they end up on the congested side as well, all the way around in the Slurpee swamps. And you saw there, Fresh did not have any HP or shields to really work with. He's just, again, bare bones off the back of whatever it is that he can rotate through. No valuables picked up from all the fights, so just a struggle. And not only that, the teams they fought just didn't yield back the good return, right? So all across the board, just negatives in those fights.
Yeah, and this, as much as I say it's not a rough rotate from them out of Holy Hedges again, it's still a rough zone overall. As here we go. Your pick, Luda, Muzz, and Speedy here in a good position on the edge of zone. They don't want to go too far into the water. I think they're assuming, like most teams here, that this zone will actually pull back. Surely we don't see a full... Oh, never mind. Never mind. We're going to see an entire water fourth zone. I think there's about 10% of the landmass on that northeast edge, I think, is in. That is it. Like, I talked about it. I even tweeted out last week that OCE is just being put through the test right now. We talked about it on the broadcast, Monster. We saw some of the most brutal zones you and I have ever seen in a 6-game format. And game 1 here of Heat 2 is not changing. I don't know what OCE did, but the Fortnite gods are not liking these pros. Great to watch for us at home. Not too fun to play, though.
You know what? I blame Muzz. Muzz, yeah, it's all his fault. Right? He asked for 50-50. Caster Crow instantly kicks in, and all of a sudden now the entire lobby has to pay for it.
No one gets
like
50-50.
Everyone's paying for it.
There's a good chance if this goes like anywhere on that western to south section, no one's going to get half, because no one's going to go out into the water. Everyone's going to try and stay near this land. Fighting around water is just so irritating. That bottom layer, when you drop down, as you can see here now, players phase the builds. You can't get up. This is shallow water. This is water you can stand in. Once you start kicking the swimming in as well, it's even harder. It looks like we have Nubatoon getting knocked here. Maybe this was a trade for Storm Surge. I'm not sure. Nubatoon usually is holding the sniper, so maybe it was a trade for snipes. But yeah, Fresh and Nubatoon not looking fantastic here. And this is a tough zone. Again, if you're going to have a rough game, maybe the game that has a pretty bad zone where everyone's going to have a rough game isn't so bad. But some of our, top tier teams are all in there. But look at the congestion on the edges. Everyone's scrambling to find some kind of landmass.
Oh, man, and Fresh is going to go in and swing all the way back around. The nice map shot is perfect for this rotate here. You can see where everyone's based up. Couple of LOS kind of line of sight being blocked there with the big trees. So Fresh and Nubatoon are going to be able to possibly get a little closer for free. On high ground, though, Looter is already based up with Muzz and Speedy. So this is them playing for the Victory Royale already off the gate here. 800 damage above the Surge. They're not going to have a single problem here looking in at the lobby, but this half in zone, where it goes is going to really determine how this game plays out for the majority of the lobby, right?
I say said it last game. I said there's no way this goes in the water. Again, I casted Kirsten, you casted Kirsten Muzz, but come on, like, I don't even think Fortnite, I don't know. I feel like a lot of pros, a lot of people who follow Fortnite competitively have these notions in their mind of what zones can and can't do. I feel like there is no way you get an entire water half-half. But with the way this zone has gone max every single time, it makes me think it's going to happen, but I don't know. I'm just going to stop and I'm going to wait for it. And yeah, let's see. Are these guys going to be put through the worst zone they've ever seen in their lives?
Hey, there it is. The counter hit 0. And no, half in, half out to Muzz. You know, we did it. Yeah,
that's not too bad. True. And they're on the high ground. You said, okay, let's not go too far. Your and my DMs already look pretty terrible with some of the stuff we get asked to do for Epic Games. Let's not go around saying we predict half-half. That was, I feel like it's the only spot the zone could have gone. If that was a full water half-half, it would have been an absolute nightmare. We do get it on this bit of landmass, and there's some big teams here. Luna, Muzz, and Speedy are making their rotate towards the edge of it. They're going to try and make their way up if they can, but I don't think they're going to want to take the high ground, sit a few low layers down. They have their damage, maybe a late high retake, but also we see Jalen's team has to move. I believe we did have a connection issue with Zora. I don't think Zora made it into the game, so we have to see Squeaks and Jalen hold it down as a duo. They're still alive. They're doing well. As we're tuning in with Team TP here, Russian, Kazi, and Spy. They've got 2 points on the board, 1 elimination, no placement yet. Remember, placement kicks in on top 17 teams. So in the top left there, you have 21 teams and 56 players, as it is my pick, none other than the ex-FNCS champions, Alec, Jinx, and Worthy, that have high ground on half-half. Looking good for me.
Looking great for you right now, as they can see players on the rotate as well. So super comfortable up above. Take a look at the players making it on in. The struggle is real for Squeaks and company on the side. Jalen, I think they're getting zapped by Storm Surge right now. They are. They're one of the few teams under pressure there. And look, Jalen doesn't have any HP. It's looking rough for him right now. Jalen on the move, 188 below. He has to get into a fight right here, right now, and he makes it just barely, but not because of the tags, because the players go down in the process. And he's working Russian right now.
Yeah, Jalen's doing good things here. I think they managed to pick that one up there. Squeaks went down, but Jalen's still holding on. He didn't get the elimination in the end, but he backed him off with the box fighting. And yeah, when you're a duo, when Zora didn't connect, we do have the confirmation at the bottom left there. No X means they didn't connect because they didn't go down. But Jalen and Squeaks coming out of sweaty sands with this rotation as a duo. Storm Surge is always going to be an issue, but man, Jalen, competitive veteran. You know, Fallout talked about it last week. He's been around since the day 1 of competitive Fortnite, and he's really putting on a show right now. 6 HP to his name. Surely he can't do this.
Can I just say, though, he is a team away from at least earning points. Like, he's by himself with max material. No, he goes down. You can see there the tick, a single tick from the zone. Unfortunate. He's the only player to go down there as well, as he grants everyone a point here in the lobby. So there it is. That's really what you're looking for, is those top placement spots that are going to start getting divvied out right here, right now. This is where the real Fortnite begins. What is your practice? What is your teamwork going to be like? And can you stay hip to hip?
Can you stay hip to hip, as well as Worthy hitting a really nice bouncer? A lot of the lesser, I don't know, kind of experienced teams will always try to go for those really long, big tarps that just expend a lot of material. If you can play it like this, using bouncers, just single tarping, no one plays high ground better than Jinx, Alec, and Worthy and OCE. I'm going to put it out there. When they have it, it's ridiculous. They almost don't even talk while they're up there. Just every player knows what they're doing. They've just rehearsed it so many times. And they are one of those top tier teams that has stuck together since last FNCS. So they have the advantage up there. I have to think with 2 eliminations on the board, we're going to see at least a few more of those, but almost a guaranteed win or top 3. But his teams down here, like your pick, Muzz, Luna, and Speedy, look at the elims monster. 6 eliminations. They're worth 2 a pop. If they can get even top 3, where we know those big placement kicks in with these extra eliminations and the rocket, I mean, both our picks looking fantastic here.
Yeah, that's huge right there. Another huge come up right here for Jason. Vortex are popping off right now. Basso might be down, but Basso had 3 eliminations coming into this. More players left and right here. They have to work one another. They own all the builds here. Beautiful for them. And look at that. The zone's going to do a little extra there too. On high ground, though, Alec is down. This is massive. 1 player down, and we already know. Oh, look at this. They're going to play for the pickup.
They usually do. I was about to say, they're never out with this team. They control high ground so well, and they have so much pressure on. I mean, you and me were talking about earlier today, Monster. Worthy, the aim is just unmatched by almost any other player, not just an OCE, but the world. He hits his shots. If Jinx is going for this revive and any team thinks, hey, they're a little bit weak on high ground, let's build up a little bit, I guarantee they'll be very quickly met with Worthy's assault rifle. So they're going to stay down there. They are going to get the revive on rotating zones, only the champs, but there are so many eliminations going down below. We talked about how mid and low is what it's for. Look at that. 8 eliminations on the board here, and they're still walking through. Never mind. Fake that 9 as they take down their power contingent. Luna takes down chances. You love and hate to see it though, but they are running through the lobby right now. But do they have what it takes to dethrone high ground? They have the RPG. They have maybe a little bit of heal off potentially as we get a beautiful three-way split of the three teams that I think will have to make top 3 here. But who's going to win it?
Listen, Looter, Muzz, and Speedy are ready to dance to that sweet, sweet tune because it's getting closer and closer here. The big clash, low ground versus height. We might see it go down here. And what better way to watch it with the rocket launcher in play in the final games? Look, this is where the big placement starts to get given out, right? This is 6 players remaining, 6 teams remaining, if you will. And now, top 5 here.
Top 5, and that's it. Third is where it kicks in. You get 6th place, 6 points for third, 5 for second, and 5 for the victory royale. That is so many. That is half the placement points that you're going to get for this entire game for getting that victory royale once you get to the top 3. As we see Flu's team drop down, and unfortunately they fall. There's 4th. Who is going to be the team that doesn't get it? Muzz goes up with a bouncer. I said, can they dethrone higher ground? The RPG comes out. I don't think it connects with any of the players on Jinx's team, but it's enough to break them out. Luda goes up. He's going up against Jinx. These are 2 of the best teams. I would argue the 2 best teams in OCE going for it right here. This is why Heat number 2 was the one to watch out for. Game 1 is already kicking off as Jinx has 20 builds, 19 burning through them, only 40 health. Jinx is the last one remaining. Worthy's gone down below them. Luda's gone down though. Have they lost this one? They went too hard for the high ground, but Muzz takes down Jinx on the fall. And it's our FNCS champs that come in 4th. They don't get the top 3.
There you have it. The heads will roll, and you know there's going to be big upsets online for that one. Vortex is going to be the one on high ground now, though. 5 elims for him. Jace has 4 as well. That's 9. Muzz still alive, though, as a solo gets taken out, and now it's a 2v2 situation. High ground, though, so comfortable here.
I mean, you got to trust that Timmy called them as the dark horse, and if Timmy mentions a team, you know they're going to pop off. Jace, Vortex, and Baz. I talked about how they don't play high ground often. They've only late taken it now. They played this whole game on the low and mid grounds, and they had so many eliminations. What is that? 7, 4, 11, 14 elimination victory royale in what I'm calling by far the most difficult heat in OC, and you saw why there. The caliber of names we were talking about at the very end, absolutely just ridiculous, monster.
Hey, we're going to be talking about that one tomorrow, today, tonight, and for the rest of the games, that's for sure. 14 elims, that's going to be tough to best there, Ozzy. I mean, a massive game in the hardest heat. Like, what?
Yeah. Same thing as well. We got to see how these teams are going to play. We had Jinx's team on the high ground early. They always position for it well. They always dominate, but we had Muzz, Luda, Speedy. It's the reason why 2 of you guys picked them, coming up and going aggressive, but they both went for the battle and no one actually walked away with the victory. They ended up both getting dethroned, but either way, big points across the board for eliminations. We'll have to see how the leaderboard shakes up. We know who's in first. We're going to throw it over the analyst to break down who's in second and third because it's going to be close to the top. Vandy, run us through it.
Thanks so much, Ozzy and Monster. What an incredible finish. I mean, a duo getting things done. So congratulations to Basil's squad. But Timmy, this one's for you, right? Zone number 5 was like 90-95% water. Can you even plan for zones like these? Because after that, it kind of felt like it was up to RNG at some point. But it seems like these squads, they still handled it, even though it was such a difficult round.
It's really difficult to prepare for zones like that because you just very rarely see them. And even in practice, if you're not seeing them in scrims, you're never going to practice them. So the fact that these low ground teams and these mid ground teams are able to adapt, obviously height's going to be very similar. But I think the most important thing is actually the fact that this pulled so far down. The IGLs really were tested here. How did they rotate this mid game? How did they sort out their tags without getting too heavily tagged themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Fallout. Oh, sorry. No, this one was for you, Fallout, because of course your squad, the one that you had predicted. I mean, we thought that it was pretty much in the bag for Alex's squad. Like they had high, but what kind of went wrong for them there?
Yeah, they had high ground. They somehow lost it. It was actually Speedy, Looter, and Muzz that were able to take high ground. Obviously got a little bit disoriented when Alec got knocked. We don't know exactly what happened, but they were able to actually secure the revive. That entire game was insane, Vandy. That was one of the craziest FNCS semifinals or major games I've seen in a long time. I almost need like a timeline of events to map down what happened there. Thank God we have the replays here to walk through it. But that was just a crazy, crazy game, number 1 to me.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. We saw this fight here at Shark, and actually these guys, Maki, Kami, and Kunai, managed to come up with second overall in that game. So really good game from them after getting contested. So that's awesome for them. But the big stories coming out of that for me were the fact of like the big POI clustering forced because of how far we pulled down bottom left. Everyone grouped to Slurpee for the potential refarm and the potential shield from the shield barrels. And then after that, it's just an absolute cluster of fighting and everything else top right fall out.
Yeah, that's right. Madness. You'll see on your screen right now, this is one of the most unique late game circles we've seen, which means for these players, they had to find a way to traverse it. They had to find a way to deal with it, and it was actually insane. When we saw our half in, half out here, it was actually interesting. It pulled towards Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, so you thought that they were just going to walk away with it. You and I were both saying the same thing. Unfortunate for Looter, Speedy, and Muzz, but Looter, Speedy, and Muzz, they just continued to frag out on mid ground and low ground. They went from, I believe, 3 or 4 elims to 10 or 11 elims, and then they were able to actually disrupt Jinx, Worthy, and Alec on high ground, and that was enough for Jace and Vortex, who, by the way, as a duo, they lost Basil at half in, half out. They were able to take away the win and actually take away high ground. It was one of the craziest games. Like I said, you almost needed a timeline of events to walk through it, Timmy.
Yeah, and you also got to think the fact that it was basically a power battle up height, right? You had Looter and Muzz and Speedy trying to take on Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. The fact that those guys basically griefed each other meant that Vortex and Jace could take advantage of that, end up getting the elims on those guys, and then coming through with the win.
And you got to think, when you're Jason Vortex, you see in the elimination feed those names. Those are the top 2 dogs in the lobby, the top alphas. You see them fighting, you see one knocking the other, you immediately know those are the teams that are high ground. Because if it's not Alec and Worthy and Jinx to hold high ground, it's certainly going to be Speedy, Looter, and Muzz. So that means it's a perfect opportunity for you to take high ground. That's exactly what Jason Vortex did as a duo. Vandy, that was one of the craziest games. Shout out to them. 14 eliminations and fragging out in that late game. That was huge.
It's just really interesting to me because Timmy already alluded to it, just being like, because of the way the scoring works and eliminations counting for 2 points, a lot more of these teams, I suppose, as the weeks have kind of gone on, feels like they're more comfortable getting more aggressive and perhaps prioritizing eliminations over than just placements, and it's kind of working for them. But we'll have to wait and see how the rest of this goes. I'll wait and see whether we've got our standings ready to go, and then we can chat through them. But I mean, it's kind of, does it feel a little bit liberating to me that this was a team, of course, that you did have your eye on, like the dark horse even, to see them performing so well in round 1?
Yeah, well, these guys are fantastic players, as I said it before, and I think it goes to show how their theory is really, really good. They know how to play late game. They know how to play mid game. Their overall game theory is really, really good, and because it's so good, it actually doesn't matter that they lost Basil at half there, because the theory is so good. They can play it out as a duo, and as you can see, they can do that really, really well.
Yeah. Well, I'm keen to hear what the casters see. We won't have standings just yet. They're still getting prepared, so hopefully we can bring them to you after round 2. But let's hear from our casters, because I'm keen now that they've had the analysis, the breakdown. I want to hear now from Aussie and Monster what they think that we're going to see coming on up.
Thank you so much, Vandy. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. We saw the big team step up. We saw a few of the favorites like Fresh's team go down early in the fray, so they didn't really get to have their, say in the mix of things. But I don't know, Monster, I think we're going to see more of the same there. We had our top teams pop off, perform. They ran head to head, and it was whoever could kind of come out at the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. But listen, game 2 is here and it's underway. We already saw what happens when the zone goes west, though, Aussie. Even some of those Western teams are struggling, right?
Yeah.
Nubatune and Fresh and Rel, they didn't end up where we thought they would have.
No, I'm really surprised to see that. That wasn't the worst zone for them to kick off game number 1, but maybe just kind of those jitters, maybe those nerves. They didn't get to play qualifying week 3 because they did manage to qualify out of week 2, so could maybe just them kind of heating up and warming up into it. I talked about how they've been playing a whole bunch of the scrims, but Timmy also touched on it then as well, and I think that's a perfect kind of way to put it. That zone is almost unpracticed. You almost never see zones like that. That's why we talked about it so much. So to see it kind of be in that position, maybe they're just not used to it, so they've still got 5 more games to make it count. We've seen how many points you can rack up there. We have Basil, Vortex, and Jace in first on 58 points after that game. Muzz, Looter, and Speedy in second on 46. Then we have Kunai, Kami, and Makey on 41, which was actually the team we're watching right now having the fight at Shark. So we talk about those far west zones. They had one of the worst zones you could have possibly gotten from Shark, going all the way down to southwest, and they still managed to be in third after it. So, I mean, I don't think really anyone's got a real excuse here.
Yeah, but the difference is they're being contested. That free surge off the gate here is massive, and we all know it. Remember, it's 100 for the body getting down. It's 100 if you catch it as soon as he falls down. So, honestly, it's a lot of storm surge that's unaccounted for. And, yeah, Otwa doesn't seem like he's going to make it very far right now. As you can see, the beautiful shots coming in. They find some upgraded ARs, too. So, across the board, pretty comfortable for Kami and the crew.
Yeah, and there it is. We have the leaderboard coming up as well. I just ran you through the top 3. We also have Jehobo's team in there on 22 points. It looks like Nevermind, a bit of a double up there. I think we might have to check that one. 3rd and 5th being the same. But we got our top 3, and that's what really matters right now. 8th place is sitting on 18 points, though, and that's what you got to focus on. Everyone's going to be trying to get that top 8. So anyone below 18th point, I know it's only game 1, but they're kind of behind the pace. Anyone above is looking good. So when you've got Basil's team on 58 points, they're looking fantastic. Qualifying from the Heat 1 earlier today was about mid-90 points. So they really only need to have one more decent game, and they've qualified in 2 games. We're seeing a fight over at Stealthy. We've seen this a fair bit on NA East and the other regions too, Monster. It's always an interesting fight of who can kind of get high ground, potentially anchor it to those indestructible builds, or the walls, I should say, around it. But man, these teams are looking pretty shambles for this fight. I think if anyone gets a good amount of damage in the next few seconds, it's going to open it up.
Yeah, especially for Lozy and company there who do not have extra shields to work with. Len being the only one. One white tag will really get the confidence swing over to this team here. And it seems like they're going to find it. They're going to find it right here into Zix. And yep, there's Zab there. They wipe him up really quickly. Frost is going to find the first. Sin down to low HP, but it doesn't matter. The Siphon's going to keep the team up and strong. And there goes those white tags I was talking about.
Yeah, so as soon as you get those white tags out, no one really has the meds, and we see it. Frosty, Sin, and Buttercup Fleek's going to walk through this one. We have our Zadie squad. I believe it is a full Zadie trio. I know everyone freaked out when that dropped recently. It really is one of those kind of go-to skins when it comes to playing tournaments like this, and they pop off as we have K16 Poggy, K16 Velocity, and K16 Juddy taking some big shots on Lynx's team as they rotate out of here. And I thought we had uncontested Camp COD game 1, so I don't really know what's going on here. Maybe it was a weather station push down for tags. Don't really know, as we haven't talked too much about this first zone. Looking like we're going to favor that north side of the map, but still northwest. So east side teams aren't really getting too much love here, but that's not really that much. Again, we have Jinx's team performing really well from Dirty Doc's last game. You can make it work. I would actually say the rotates from east to west is probably a little bit easier than west to east, just because of that big open area between Dirty and Coliseum, especially above kind of Hunter's Haven, where you can rotate straight through with no major POIs.
Yeah, I definitely share that same sentiment. And let's just talk about Jinx, Alex, and Worthy, who had half in, half out, and they only come in top 5, right? 20 points, a 4th place with 3 elims, but it feels like they're so far behind when you look at First, who's nearly double and triple that.
Yeah, it is. It's the format we've talked about. It's top heavy, top 3. You really got to get those placement points. And if you don't, you've got to get eliminations. And the way that that kind of high ground game played out was they were on high ground. They got the decent placement points, but they lost the eliminations. We talk about it time and time again, Monster. If you're on high ground, you get easy placement, but the eliminations aren't there. And that was the story. That was the problem. They really did only manage to pick up 3 eliminations and the 4th place. So while that looks fantastic in other formats, you've got to play to the current format. The current format is eliminations or top 3. You've really got to get both of those. So still good points for them. They're still in 5th. And again, one of the most consistent teams, not just in OCE, but the world. I know they'll bring it back together as we see an interesting fight here that usually doesn't end well. Unfortunately, Hydro Dam giving that RPG is where a lot of the big teams want to go for it. But it really is one of the worst drops if you're contested, because like this happens, it slows down, it's stalemates, or it's a giant 50-50 at the start. Either team, I don't think is walking away from this one with a win necessarily, because I don't know how they're going to go rotating from this big zone after this.
Yeah, it's going to be tough here, and you can see RPG already coming into play. It's going to connect, actually, onto Mike, who's on the other side of the wall, so Ernan's going to get the reload off now. Rovar and Rex have the advantage here, if you will. This trio, they're running out of space quickly, though. Remember, 3-on-3 action. You need that room to really play with in the box fight, and Ernan and company having all the room to work with. Putting in the pressure, it looks like they're finding the new angles right now.
And again, it's just such a slow fight. Someone's got to make some moves. You've got the RPG, you've got the Rocket, you've got to make that count. As Kunai's team going down here, Djokovic, Piri, and Ripple, I noticed they went to Coral Castle, so possibly hit the VODs after last game when I said it was weird that no team was there. Now they've actually engaged on them. Remember, this is one of our teams that's placing really well, currently sitting on those high 40 points. They were in 3rd place going into this game, and now it looks like they've not out of it, but they've been heavily wounded. One of the players going down, and it looks like we have to see Ernan's team disengage. They really haven't put too much into this fight as far as the meds. I mean, they can refarm the material, but what I'm noticing, Monster, it's the ammo. We've got 4 heavy bullets. We had less than 1 clip of medium ammo. I mean, they've already started eating into the rockets, which is the main reason why they go this drop. And look, Richie's team is looking so much worse. They could sit here and hold them all day, but I have to say again, both these teams have griefed each other here.
Yeah, both teams definitely aren't walking away as victors, to say the least. Jalen's going to find Maki with a knock, and Jessiar's going to finish that off. as other actions are unfolding across the Fortnite world. Here goes the disengage. So, like you mentioned, a drawn-out fight that takes it into the storm line. Wasted material and resources on both sides. And again, just a setback. Yes, they might find the Storm Surge tags, but no, they're not going to walk away. Too comfortable now coming into the mid-game and earlier game instances. You know, it's looking rough for wear on both sides now.
Yeah, they've got the vehicles, and I mean, the addition of being able to drive the big 18-wheeler trucks, it does help a lot because there's a lot of them down in this area, so not too bad for them to make it, but they're going to have to refund the material on the way in. I guess if they got some tags for the Storm Surge, but I don't really know how many tags they actually got on that team, as clearly here, Wavy Angie's team doesn't need tags, or they'd be taking some shots at the team in the distance, but I don't think they want them to know they're there, as they're going to rotate around the edge, and I don't know, unless they were uncontested. OCE playing this one out weird. Here you go. They're going to come back this way, maybe going to try and get some of these shields, and they're going to try and get some of the material as well, potentially set up and hold a team, because I don't think they have their Storm Surge. Based on 0 points in 2 games, I have to imagine they're uncontested. They're going to have to start getting some damage up very, very soon.
Yeah, and this is the perfect team to target, right? The squad that was in the zone, taking those drawn-out fights. Not too sure if Wavy, Cricks in the controller grotto here has actually saw them, and no, they're just going to get the move on right now. Another squad's going to rotate in close, though. This is one of those vehicles, the trucks, the pickup trucks that have that nice open back there, and the engagement is real. They hop on top of one another, and all of a sudden it's an all-out fight here.
Yeah, and that team's looking pretty weak. If I can see them, it is Richie's team that was held out at Flush Factory. They're looking very, very weak. I think maybe even going down to the Storm unless they're fast. I'm looking at some low health. No, I think they had something to pop here for those white heals to keep them up from the Storm. But yeah, there it is. Goes down there in the end. So right now, they need to try and get on top of that one quick, because any damage they do to that down player will count towards Storm Surge. So even though I don't think they're the ones who got the credit for the knock or the elimination, they will very happily take the damage, or they're just going to take the big damage on the teammates, as we see 2 of them knocked down there. We'll have to keep an eye on the feed to see exactly how that one capitalizes, but I think we know how it's going to go. There it is. It is Controller Grotto, Controller Cray, and Wavy Angie get 2 eliminations on the board. They would have got the 3rd one, but the Storm took it from them. But I talked about how they're going to get their Surge. They got gifted it.
I mean, and I saw the 3rd there. It said Taker next to the name, so someone got the credit for that, and they probably just found a little tag on the drive-by because there was another vehicle there. So way to get a free elim, eh? Just on the drive-by. Here's Taker's perspective, actually. Look at how far they managed to get. So he was the last person to do damage to them, and he gets the elim in the process. But here, though, Sekou, YU, and Jehobo now on the move right now. Down to member 2, and they're pushed out to rotate, leave the enemies behind.
Now, this is what I want to see, though. We might have to maybe get kind of Timmy to break it down later. Could get in the replay files potentially, but what I want to see is how Basil, Vortex, and Jace are going to play this zone when they get it. They're a Craggy Cliffs team, like I said. And as I mentioned, Craggy Cliffs Storm Surge is usually pretty brutal. So when you get zone, you can't just sit down in Craggy Cliffs. Like, if let's say you get zone, you're at Lazy Lakes. You build up on one of the main buildings. You get those sidelines. You get your tags. Craggy's in the basin there. You can't really do much. So you have to be very proactive at getting out early, getting your tags, and then going back in, because you don't want to give up the fact that you got a first zone, your POI is in, but you're gonna have to be very, very proactive to get some damage, because they're in first place. They need to hold on to it, and with that zone, if they can have one more good game, they're gonna be qualified here as Wavy 6 with the big beam, and you'd expect nothing less, I should say, with the legendary assault rifle. K16's team has just really taken a beating here. This high fire rate is just bleeding through those builds.
Yeah, this does that electrifying damage right here. This is the perfect thing to put the pressure down onto opponents, and honestly, they need it. You can see the Storm Surge now starting to trickle in for all sides here. Here's a team that's 160 above. They're the ones getting targeted, and that sniper, perfect for putting back the counter fire, but no, he's not going to connect, so the pressure will continue to come on in. They buy some time. K16 trio is in trouble here, but not permanent trouble. They will be able to bounce back. I'm trying to figure things out, though. Is Paltry the solo here? He's kind of like lurking about. One of those guys is solo in that little mix there, hiding amongst the trio.
And that's the hard thing about this format. We saw it last game with Jalen's team just falling shy of that top 17. You've really got to make it to first rotating zone before you get any placements. Like, just let that sink in how long of a game of Fortnite there is to get to first rotating zone. And that's when you start getting a single point for every team going down. So that's why that top 3 is so prestigious. If you go down early in these games, you are really, really missing out. But in the same way, it allows for big, massive final performances to get people up there. As J-Squad gets their elimination elimination onto Kumar, so they're finding surge and they're finding elimination, so doing fantastically as Gazer only 95 above. You really want to be 200-300 clear of each threshold, otherwise it does get ugly, as Flu's team getting keyed onto as well. This is one of the team, or I should say now, the remaining team that has been wiped off here, who was Jace's team that got elimination onto, so I think that third party from them was coming out as they look like they're more of that teal triangle. They're set up on the hill. I said they have to be proactive coming out of Craggy, and that's what they've done. Set up on this high ground, and now they're really pressuring any of these teams that come in, because if you look at the map right now, I'm going to do some Timmy analysis breakdown. A lot of teams are going to try to either go around this mountain or come up and over it because they want that high ground position, and until they get on top of it, they don't realize they've got the first place team sitting up here looking pretty.
Yeah, and this is great for players like Jinx, Alex, and Worthy on the right-hand side up towards, they come out of Dirty Docks, and you can see they're getting comfortable already on those mountain lines. Those white lines coming out of their crosshairs are lines of shots they're putting in, so they're targeting everyone in the vicinity. This zone's going to work out well. It's going to go south-ish here. This should be a nice, clean rotate for the most part, and everyone else is going to have to move right into the center. Take a look, though. Vegan Company, they had those elims virtually blessed to them because the team needed surge, and now they're way up and comfortable. Here's Vortex, though. Basso and J-Scott, like we mentioned, they were already getting active. Now they're continuing to do so.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that I have high hopes for as well, because OCE, there's not many teams at the top, but the ones that are at the top, everyone knows about, like Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. We have Muzzluda, Speedy, but I would love to be wrong here today and see another team that really has been making a name for themselves inside OCE, hasn't really got too much attention outside of OCE, jump up as Josiah's team on the back foot, getting hit heavy by the Storm Surge. They had the splashes, not using it as a duo, which I don't really like to see from Josiah's team there. They really need to try and hold it up, but they got to jump down and find some damage. We've seen it time and time again. You're not going to out-heal Storm Surge Monster. We have 74 alive. 4 players still have to go down, and we only have 20 seconds till the next zone starts coming in. So we've had quite a few teams here jostling this Surge and trading it around.
Oh, no, Vague. We knew that they were okay, but there it is. He's going to lose out on his teammate ZCX. Now in a tough situation here. Psycha and Vague going down. They were well above the Storm Surge threshold. This is what happens when you couple up next to all these other opponents. You saw J-Scott, the first place team, right? Their entire trio firing in, causing I'd say a bit of a commotion here. And now ZCX is the one who's going to have to fight his way through this. He's on the wrong side of the barrel now.
Yeah, always been coined a bit of lobby focus as well.
Look.
You start spraying, everyone else gets in there. Lobby manipulations. Vortex, Jason, Basil, here we go. They're going to push in here because really, they do have the advantage when it comes to this fight. Not just health, not just experience. They've really got every single advantage you could possibly want here and there. They quickly wipe it out. Botland still in these builds somewhere. Basil, Vortex, and Jace trying to find something, trying to make their way and get every single elimination, because that's 3 on the board again. That's another 6 points, is putting them on 64 right now. Just think how qualifying from the last heat that we had today, top 8 was 92. There's 64 points of 92, and we're only 1 game in, not even hitting placement in game 2 yet.
Yeah, look at this, not hitting any points here. It's Fresh Round Nubatoon, who's still struggling so far in this game. Not a single elimination. We know they get their draw spot over by Holly on the left western portion of the map, uncontested, and it sees how it plays into their gameplay. But look, first place team though, Jace is down. Should have plenty of material though, right, to pick up and bounce back into this game, but something went wrong here. I have to assume it was a sniper shot from downrange.
Yeah, I think so as well. As here you go, your boys Muzzler and Speedy trying to do something big here on the K16 team. We've seen them just getting bullied around this lobby right now, and I don't mean that in any disrespect towards them. I just think they've had a lot of healthier teams around them. They try to run from one fight, they try to disengage, they try to rotate, and they run into another big team, and Speedy, Luda, and Muzz is a big team to run into. Speedy getting 2 eliminations on the board. Not usually, known for that. He is the older player in the team. He's the big brain on the team, leading 2 of the best fraggers in the entire region. So Speedy doing big things there with the 2 eliminations. You love to see it from the, I don't want to say the old man, but I mean, he's in his early 20s. That's veteran these days for Fortnite Monster.
Hey, that's old man in Fortnite terminology, That's just how it is. That's just how
ancient.
It is. Yeah, we're the ancient casters. There it is. But look at the situation they found themselves in, right? Like now they have all the medium bullets in the world. They have everything to work for, but they're still gonna have to soldier their way through this outskirt.
And I was going to say it's a good rotator under the bridge here. There wouldn't be too many eyes on them. But as I say that, Prestige's team is down here lurking and waiting. They probably heard them in the bush. Luda covering a little bit from behind, and Luda with that legendary charged shotgun. And it is so scary. I'd put Luda up there as one of the players with repulse in this region that really does just make the charged shotgun look so much better. It's not usually a fan favorite for the average player, usually preferring the tactical shotgun or the lever action shotgun. Bit of a higher fire rate, bit more forgiving if you miss your shots. But if you hit your shots with the charge and you use it properly, I really do think Luda could have one of those big fragging games here, which we saw them have last game, but 2 games back-to-back. They're on 52 points out of 92, like I said as well, from Heat 1, so they're looking fantastic.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, knock, knock, because these boys are knocking on the door next door. YU opens up the edit here to see who is on the other side, and it was a healthy team of Speedy, Muzz, and Luda. They walked through, was that 2 elims there now? Saku left by himself here, pushed out, and once again another refresher falls into the hands of Muzz, Luda, and Speedy. They needed this to catch up. They're playing catch up here to first place, and the elims are really racking up. We're only just approaching that mid game now.
We are still 7 teams from going down before we see any placement. So OC really turning up the heat with these stack ones. I think we're going to get active surge again. We see our 2 power teams next to each other. We've got Power Muzz, Power Luda next to box with Power Chances and Power Overstrand. And it's not going to end well. I was about to say that right now. Unfortunately, we have Fun being caught off guard there. Chances and Chances not really being able to back them up. Overstrand is lower in the boxes too, so maybe they can try and work on some kind of a revive, but no, Chances has been pressured. These guys play together time and time again. Power loves doing their kind of, I don't know, their content they make. One pro, one content creator. They recently had like a kind of a duos kill race with that, but unfortunately, man, Overstrand and Chances not really surprised there, going down to the competitive side of Power, and they are just powering through this entire lobby right now.
Yeah, that just felt wrong to watch. You saw how just ahead, right? Like Speedy and Luda in particular was finding those beautiful angles there on different layers and, you know, not taking any risks. They're just outgunning these opponents through the layers. It's not even like pure box fight. It's just outgunning them, putting that pressure on, finding those tags and setting themselves up. Here's that TP trio we saw before. This time around, they are going to have high ground. Spy, Russian, and Kazi. Comfortable here. 4 points, plenty above the surge, so they're not going to have a single issue here. Medium ammo to work with as well. Great shots here from Kazi as he's putting them down range. This half and half out. This could be the comeback story they're looking for.
It could be, and that's it. It's one big game to make it all happen there. And yeah, I really do think Speedy, Luda, and Muzz have got their damage now. Hopefully they start to calm down and get these placement points, or they kind of ramp it up. And been talking to a whole bunch of pros coming into these qualifiers. Reed is always known for going extra aggressive in these lobbies. And I talked to Speedy today as well. He was saying, look, there's only about 3 or 4 teams in this lobby that we don't feel confident keying. Everyone's going to be nervous. We've done this time and time again. As you're seeing here, we have the experience. We know we can do it. We're going to fight teams as if it's any other day of the week. We don't care as qualifiers, and that's only going to play to our advantage because they are scared. They will be left running, as you can see now, and we will be running through them as they now have, what is that? We have 9 eliminations on the board, and there's 42 players still alive. They are racking up the points here.
Yeah, I think it's rest assured here now at this point. Their first game was 3rd place, 13 eliminations, by the way. Their second game already, it's not even the closing of half and half out, and they're approaching the double-digit mark, literally setting a record pace here for a semifinal stage, by the way. Like, this is not just your normal stage. This is supposed to be the best of the best in the region now, in the most stacked region that we coined, right? The most stacked region for good reason.
Yeah, this is the most stacked heat of OCE, and we're seeing a very eerie kind of matchup what's going on again. We do have Alec, Jinx, and Worthy on high ground, showing that it isn't luck who gets half-half. Everyone always says that with teams like Zayt, who are the kings of high ground. We obviously have always had, you know, the Booga marketable memes as well at World Cup, but really, you can position yourself consistently. If you understand zones and you see what's going on, there is a reason why Jinx, Alec, and Worthy's team is almost always on high ground, but can they hold it? Are we going to see it again? Because we've already seen that Muzz, Luda, and Speedy, they're running through players right now. They're feeling confident. They're feeling aggressive. I see the bounce pads. I see the peppers. I could see them trying to make a big high ground push again, as we're hopefully going to get it put on display. What I talked about with Worthy, I called it. He is one of the best aimers in the world, not just OCE. And you're seeing it there. He really does put down the beams. And that's why that team does so well with high grounds. When they're above you, you don't go for it. I called it. Here it is. The bounce pad plays looking so reminiscent. I said Luda would do big things with the charge, and he did, but it wasn't enough. He falls here, and now we see Squeak, Zor, and Jarlan just one layer below them. I don't think they realize the commotion that's going above them, but man, Luda, Speedy, and Muzz are just changing the story of this game.
And I want to say Muzz got there just in time to potentially save Luder there because he was down. So he might have gotten the save off. I don't know. Here's Jinx, Worthy, and Alec up above. Now trying to get the rotate in. I still saw Speedy up here too. So again, all those elims now starting to backfire. Here's Trexie in the build. It's a 3-man box layer, and they're all lit up. The Siphon's going to keep him up. Can he clutch it? Yes, he gets a second as well. 15 HP. He's still going. He's alive. My gosh.
Trexie's doing big things, and again, I talked about charge versus tack. That is just a story of the tactical shotgun. That high fire rate is really keeping Trexie alive.
Still
100
going.
health now, only 15 shield, and he's just going for flybys. He makes his way through, but no, he finds himself in the wrong box, and it is our first place team right now, just taking him down, putting him down there as Frosty's going to walk through this one as well. Frosty's trying to do something big on the low ground, and man, it's just a story of the tack battle. They have to push up. Only 25 builds, has the bounces. Frosty's going back under the builds, needs to find some room to use those bounces. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy did hold the high ground. They lost Luder in that engagement, but Speedy and Muzz are still there trying to secure the big placement, but the pressure is on. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy only got 3 eliminations in 4th last game. Wasn't anywhere near the points they should, but here they have already more eliminations, and they're set up for that top 3.
Yeah, definitely. Way more points already going to be earned this game here. So a good game, too, for the high ground hold. And again, 2 games in a row now. They fight for high ground. They control it, and they end up in these endgame instances. But once again, they're not perfect loot-wise. It is still anyone's game here. We've seen it before. Taker on the other side. Doesn't seem like he's going to survive much longer, but he is still holding on. Holding on to that thin thread here. 20 HP. Every single team that falls now is placement points for him. 2 more teams have to fall here for that top 3.
And Squeaks just goes down. Zora, Jarl, and Squeaks, our team that managed to clutch up qualification in the last week. They split their team up. They remade in qualifier 3. They gave it 1 chance to do it, and they managed to get it by winning their final game. So they came in hot, but unfortunately, Zora crashing there in the first game has hurt them. But Fresh is still in this one. New Batum and Rel here. I don't know if I saw Fresh, but Vortex, Jason, Basil are doing big things down here if they can. They need to try and make something, though. Running low on builds on the front side. Speedy spraying them out. Speedy and Muzz have been wounded. They're a player down, but they're really fighting their way through this. They both got those big tacks to break up these builds. Gonna see if they can drop Rel in. Can't drop him in, but can find the angle. Speedy putting the pressure out. Again, we have all the best players in OCE here trying to close this one out. And who's gonna fall before that massive top 3?
It's literally 1st, 2nd, 3rd place all jockeying up here, and then you have the fighting power from New Batoon just trying to stay alive here in Rel, just trying to get any points that they can. And no, they go down in 4th before the big points, and they arguably needed it the most here. And there, you saw another big team fall. These are your top 3 squads going toe-to-toe. This is the kind of action we want in these endgame instances. These are the big clashes we tune in for.
Muzz and Speedy, there's a reason why we did as casters. 2 of us picked Muzz and Speedy's team. 2 of us picked Jinx's team. Who is going to come out on top in game number 2? One of them has to pull it off. None of them have the heal off. This is going to be a good old drop down and battle for this. No one has the white meds to go for the heal. They've used the splash early. That tells Jinx's team they don't have the white meds, but the fight goes down. Worthy drops down. Worthy can't do it, but Jinx stands up. Can Jinx connive with Muzz? No! The numbers advantage isn't enough, and Jinx wins it. He stands up toe-to-toe, 1v2 against the bounce pads. Hit the dance, Jinx, showing why they are your trio FNCS champions for last season. Backing it up here, and man, I said it. I'm happy that I did. Heat 2 has the quality. These are the best games you're going to see from the Heats in OCE. They're delivering everything you could ask for.
Listen, I was going to say, hey, we got some new kids on the block stepping up to the plate, but no. The champs hold true. They hold it down, and dude, what a fight right there. 1v2 with the teammate being down. That was clutch. That's going in the highlight reel.
It is going in the highlight reel, and that's what you want to see. Again, a lot of games went to heal off in Heat 1, but Heat 2 is just too spicy. The big names are really playing aggressive, stepping up. They're showing they're here to play. You said it's going in the highlight reel. Let's look at some of those highlights and break it down with the analyst. Vandy, what an insane game number 2.
Absolutely, Aussie and Monster. What an insane game. And I mean, congratulations to Jinx, Worthy, and Alec, because they've now taken height 2 out of 2 games in a row. This time, of course, they walk away with the victory royale, but it's just showing how dominant they are as one of our top performing teams in Oceania, right, Timmy?
Yeah, it also goes to show how good of an IGL Jinx is, or in-game leader to those who don't know what IGL means. Essentially, what we're seeing him do is rotate late into 4th and then rotate late into half as well. It means that when he rotates in late, there's people establish ahead of him, and then he can ramp over the top of them and take height. And then from there, you got to cross your fingers and hope people keep moving. This is something that we've seen Aqua over in EU do for ages now. It's just a really confident play. It really shows that you're dominant for the rest of the lobby, Fallout.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I got to say, a lot of people could easily say, look, Zone's pulling towards Worthy, Jinx, and Alec, but I love what Ozzy's commentary kind of saying, no, it is consistent leadership and a consistency of knowing how to play high ground that plays out. In my opinion, Jinx, Worthy, and Alec are the best high ground team in Oceania. But one thing I loved about this late game is the fact that it showed the two different philosophies of how to play Fortnite in the late game. We always talk about it. High ground wins games, mid ground wins championships, right? Mid ground and high ground are two very different and distinct styles of play. If you play mid ground, you're playing to frag out, and Speedy, Looter, and Muzz have been doing exactly that. That was a 12 or 13 elim game for them as they were absolutely fragging out on the mid ground right here. They had 9 elims before or at half and half. It was insane what we saw from them in the mid to late game. And then, of course, it was consistent high ground from Jinx, Worthy, and Alec. They actually almost got contested again, Timmy. Speedy, Looter, and Muzz continue to try and contest them for high ground, but they're able to hold on this time around.
Yeah, and again, we see Vortex, Jason, Basil with a really, really good game, coming up with quite a few elims and playing the mid-ground really well. Again, this idea of the mid-ground versus the high ground is what's dominating the storyline here. The fact that Jinx was able to take this win on height was huge. It's been a really good battle so far, and I think we're going to see it continue.
I sure hope so, because it's been really interesting. I really like it when it's like so close, but Fallout, you'd be sitting pretty, you and Monster, of course, predicting that, predicting them to do well. But how about you take us through our standings after after round number 2 for heat number 2?
Yeah, look, you'd think we'd be sitting pretty after a victory royale, but again, look at the elim differential between the first and second place team and everybody else in points. Keep in mind, it's 2 points per elim, so that's 25 elims already from Team Basil and Team Muzz, absolutely dominating. Of course, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, they're known for their consistency in placement points, which is why you see them still knocking on the door in the top 2 in standings. But the 2 teams that we picked, and myself and Ozzy and yourself and Monster D-Face in second and third place, respectively, they're absolutely insane game so far, Timmy.
Yeah, and I think, again, let me just stress this battle between height and mid-ground. Height team not able to get as many elims because they've got to shoot through lots of builds. If it goes back and forth, it's really difficult to get damage down on people, really difficult to get picks. But when you're playing through the mid-ground, you can look to piece control people, you can look to control space around, you get those elims, which is why you see that huge disparity between Basil, Jason, Vortex, Power Muzz, Power Luda, and then Speedy, and then Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, who've had 2 really good games so far, but because they aren't able to get those elims, they're 30 points shy of where Basil, Jason, Vortex are. What do we have over the page here, Fallout?
Yeah, one thing I also want to put on that first page was big shout out to Kunai, Kami, and Maki in 4th place. They're actually getting contested and fighting an early game 50-50. So the fact that they're still in top 4 and they had to make a pretty far rotation from Shark is pretty impressive. But taking a look at the second page here, I do see Taker, LZQM, and WPuck in 7th. Frosties, Sin, and Buttercup Fleeks in 6th. And you'll see a variety of other teams as we round out our top 10. So these are the teams that are still in a good spot to qualify. Keep in mind, top 8 will qualify through, so that 8th to 9th threshold is going to be huge. And look at that, a 3-way tie for 8th place right now, Timmy, as we take a look at our 11th through 15th standings.
Yeah, and a big team to point out there is Remy, Pace, and Spraz. It's one of the better teams in this heat as well. One of those teams that could really make a good push for that top 8. But here is a really, really big set of standings here. Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatly, a team that I'd expect to move up. Zora, Jalen, and Squeaks, another team I'd expect to move up. And Ralph, Fresh, and Nubertoon, another team I'd expect to move up. Wow. You see there the disparity in elims again. I think what they're really doing is just struggling to find the elims through mid-ground, something that we're seeing Basil, Jason, Vortex, and Muzz, Looter, and Speedy being able to do really, really easily. They're not able to do it as well, and that's why we're seeing them slide down the standings here a little bit. But I expect with 4 more games them to move up here, Fallout.
Yeah, absolutely. Our 11th place team, Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatly, did get taken out by the likes of Basil, Vortex, and co in that last game. So expect them to bounce back here in this next one. Just unfortunate running into the absolute powerhouse there. And then, of course, in 16th through 20th, the team that stands out to me the most is Russian, Kazi, and Spy. We saw them in a decent position with a near high ground in that late game. They weren't able to hold on. They actually didn't have zone pull towards them. So they had to make a pretty far rotation, but expect them to potentially bounce up in the standings. And, of course, we also see Wavy 6, Paltry, and Synergenes. We see a variety of other teams here in our top 20, and keep in mind the other threshold you want to look at is 16th place, as the 9th through 16th teams, they will make it to the reboot round, which is such an exciting, exhilarating match. I can't wait for that, but that's another key threshold to keep an eye out for, Vandy.
It really Yes, and I'm really glad that you did bring that up because it's going to be on the back of our mind. Of course, now we are going to be jumping into match number 3. I'm going to take you back to our casters, Aussie Antics and Monster.
Thank you so much, Vandy. And we have to talk about that. We have triple digits in 2 games. We have Jace's team already qualified. You have to think Heat 1, it was 92 points to get top 8. It is potential it could go above 100, but I have to think there is almost no chance.
Yeah, I think they're just a great deal above the rest of the competition. They're looking like they're taking this one away by far. So far ahead, though, Aussie. We're hopping into the next game here. It is going to be game number 3. And as we know, this is the one that really sets the pace now for players that need to catch up.
Yeah, it does. This is the halfway mark. At the end of this game, if you're really down there, if you are not at least around that 50-point mark plus, because again, you're aiming around low 90s, you have to step up. And that's when the pressure's on, right? Like, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much experience you have. Teams like Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon, who have dominated in previous seasons, they do need to step up and do something big now. Because when it comes to this last game or the second last game, the pressure is really on. As we see a team, I'm talking about Fresh's team, they're rotating up the road here. And this is really risky because Rel is very split right now over at Rainbow Rentals. And I have to think this team knows that because they're going to be maybe pushing Rel here for some Storm Surge or an easy elimination. If Fresh and Nubatoon don't get over here quick, this is going to spell absolute disaster for Team Fresh. And I don't think they have come over here to take on Rel. I don't think they know Rel is here. Rel has to play hide and seek, be real quiet. Yeah, Rel's hitting the legs right now. He is sprinting back to Holy Hedges because if he got found out here alone by this trio, that would have been very, very ugly. He is so lucky that this team does not know that Rel splits that because he's been splitting that for weeks now. I feel like almost everyone knows they're there.
Yeah, and you saw, right? They kind of just take a look. They see what's going on. Rel's going to give his position up to take some tags. It's going to work out well for them. And again, just by a thin margin, he gets away with it because he wasn't caught out there. That could have been so bad, like you said. Lucky for him, he gets to see another day. 22 points, right? They had a rough game 1 and great game 2. That could have been the upset, the back setting, the offset for them here now. But it's okay. They get to live to see another day.
Yeah, and again, we saw it. I mean, I saw it anyway on Fresh's Twitter. He did post a clip of what happened last game. I was thinking something didn't quite go right. I wonder how Fresh went down. I mean, if you've got Twitter and you've checked out Fresh, you have to go watch it. It was so unfortunate. Hitting the bounce pad, he clips a floor that catches him, but it catches him on such a minute angle that he instantly falls off it and falls straight down, and he is eliminated because of that. So really unfortunate luck there in game number 2. So hopefully without that bad luck against them, game number 3, they can have the big performance they need. But we've seen it in multiple regions. We saw it today in Heat 1. I was watching Tecmar's team who ended up qualifying. They really only had one massive game that jumped them up. They got, I think it was 10 plus eliminations in a second, and that is enough points to really skyrocket you. So with 4 games left, this format, anything can happen. It can come down to the last game. I mean, we've seen Basil's team drop consistently over 50 points or almost 50 points in 2 separate games. So you really can be sitting around that 20, 30 point mark and just have a massive game, especially for ones that have the potential like that. But WPuck's team here, we saw them a lot in the qualifiers, but K16's team changing up their drop spot, and I don't blame them. I mean, they really need something. 0 points. I'm also noticing Poggy rocking the back bling, which, if you guys don't know, is available here on the twitch.tv/OzOpen stream. Drops are enabled. All you gotta do is log on to the Epic Games website, link your Twitch account to the Epic Games account, watch for 20 minutes, and you'll be able to rock that beautiful back bling as well.
Yeah, definitely. Earn it up. Tag your friends. Get them in here, right? These are one-of-a-kind moments. Don't leave no regrets behind. But you can see the rotate coming through. They're working off that backside. The last time we tuned in with K16, they were, again, getting pressured in and getting taken out. Here's that stealthy stronghold fight that we saw break out last round. Didn't work very well for the team up top. It's Flixin and Frosties. They were the ones who won it, and it was AV, Lozy, and Lem who had a bit of a struggle here. So again, they're setting up that ambush play. This is how you want to initiate a fight.
Yeah, I mean, they had the positioning for it. Don't really know they had the aim for it. They had the 3-2-1, but I think that was a single AR tag, maybe 2 max. So things not looking too great for Zadie Trio here as they're going to rotate along the edge, make their way out. And again, Storm Surge is Storm Surge. They're not going to get quite as much as they got last time with the big damage and the big fight they had. But we now see Team TP who's trying to do big things. They got to jump up on the leaderboard, and this is a way to do it. Having a big fight here against Team Sin over at the Orchard. And if they can clean wipe this one out, which I think they just did, that's 2 eliminations on the board. I don't see the 3rd, but there it is. Poultry's trying to run here, trying to get away. Has 43 builds left to do so, but is running straight into the arms of another team off in the distance. And we have another team kind of heading from this one. So maybe Team TP is going to give this one up and just go for the rotate. Never mind, the player Poultry needs to start going further north. Don't cut across yet. You're a solo versus trio. Maybe go into the sand, maybe even hide, because if they get you, you are going to fall.
Yeah, at this point, you just got to stay above water, try your best to, not get caught out here. And those are two teams that are in the same boat, right? They're literally neck and neck for points. So now, TP trio here is going to be happy that they get the point swing in their favor. Jax, Prestige, and Klims on the other side, just nearby. Again, another squad outside of that bubble, very much outside of the threshold of where they want to be. So one big game will put them back on track. Everyone that's around these, I'd say low teens to mid 20s, this is the middling performance here. You're outside the top 10, right? You really need to start hopping up. Remember, only top 8 move on.
Only top 8 move on. We've got our 9th to 16th for the reboot round, and that's where you're going to see those big teams. We're going to have to start looking for some of those teams. Last time, we have Frosty's. Bit of a miss swing on the pickaxe there, hitting the gas can, which, we'll aptly name the petrol can as well. We are an OCE now, but big damage there potentially. What I was going to say is if you have any of those big names going into the reboot round, it really does kind of pick favorites. Last reboot round for OCE, we did have Baffle season kickoff. We had Baffle season kicking off in round 3 qualifier as well, Monster. I educated you a little bit. It ended up being Hughes season, though. Baffle's team lost it, so sometimes the favorites going into that reboot rounds really can't put it together, because you got to think, when the pressure's on, sometimes it's even hard to win the easiest of games, right? Like, all it takes is one thing to go wrong in an arena trio game, and sometimes you can't win them consistently, even with a good team. So trying to guarantee the victory royale in a reboot round, it's not as simple as what people think, even if you are the best team going into it.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. We've seen the best have struggle days, right? It really comes down to just having everything fall into place exactly the way you want it to be. And even then, you never really know. Here, though, we're asking for players to break into that top 8 like we mentioned. There's going to be upsets in every single region. This could be one here too, right? Squeaks, Jalen, and Zora. 22 points. These are the teams that we're talking about that need to step up in this game.
Yeah, and right now we do. We have Jalen looking real confident, pushing forward into this one against this team. And I think the reason why they're doing that is they are a Sweaty Sands team. This is our team that's been dropping around this area on the islands and the Shark. And I think with this zone, they want to set up early like Jalen is on a good high ground position, but they need damage to do so. Kami's team doesn't. They have 3 eliminations on the borders. This is an interesting fight. Okay, boys, let's take on the ex-FNCS champions on Edge Zone as a full trio v trio fight. I can't see this ending fantastically well for Prestige, Jackson, Klims here. You can see just by the fact that they're tarping above them, trying to get away, the exposure just isn't there right now. The composure, I should say, sorry, as Jinx, Alec, and Worthy just rotate under them into zone using nowhere near as many mats. And I hope this doesn't break out into a full trio fight, as it could cause an upset for Jinx's team. But I have to think this team is going to know who that is and have respect enough to potentially look for an engagement on a different team.
Yeah, if you don't want to get sent back to square one, you might as well hide out here, camp out for a little bit, and let them pass on by. That's a dangerous, dangerous storm you're messing with there. And Alec, Jinx, and Worthy are going to get just that. A little moment to go ahead and get the move on. They're going to hop back in their vehicle, leave the heals behind, and go ahead and rotate out. Here's the other look, though. Maki, Kunai, Cammy, we just saw them, and they are still pressing the issue here at the Coral Castle. Squeaks and Zora, all based up here right now, and it's all gunplay.
It's all gunplay. Is that right now Kunai's team really trying to do big things against, big
Jalen's
players.
down.
This is Zora, Squeaks, and Jalen. Jalen's going to fall here, and this is really unfortunate for them. Zora didn't connect into game number 1, game number 2. Oh, we have Brucey, as I've aptly named him. We do have the Shark here. How fitting on OCE right now, doing big things to Kunai, breaking out the builds. Brucey wants a bite and some of the action, as Kunai has to kind of push away here. They've got good points, 51 on the board. So we talk about, that around 100 mark is definitely the safe mark. They're halfway there in 2 games. If they can capitalize on this, they've already got 4 eliminations now on the board with Jalen going down. So they're looking fantastic. Zone's going to pull across. They can refarm up this material. You notice all these teams, or especially Kami's team, they're very smart in them building in brick. That is one of the main materials down here in Coral Castle. All those kind of, I guess I want to call them like altars, have so much brick in them. So they really haven't expanded that much for this fight, and they've picked up 2 free points and some Storm Surge so far. So I think a good fight from Team Kunai, because they've got no one around them. This is the dead side of zone to take this kind of a fight, and they know they have the numbers advantage.
Yeah, not only that, he just waited, right? Patience. They didn't even jump in and take the duel fight. They waited for them to walk on over to that reboot card. He knew he was going to do it, and this is because they have respect for Squeaks and Zora. They gave them the room to breathe, and this is what happens. 2v3, anything can still unfold. 82 damage below, and all of a sudden there it is, and now it's a 2v2, and they're still very, very healthy on both sides. This is why you have to respect the likes of Squeaks and Zora. They have that firepower, and all of a sudden this exchanging back and forth, my gosh.
I mean, Squeaks has the mechanics. No one is going to take that away from him. Squeaks really is one of the best fighters, but just the absolute lack of judgment there. Pushes into the box, doesn't realize he doesn't have the stair or the roof, gets them taken out, and the big damage comes out. Zora, at one point, was known as one of the best box fighters in OCE. Unfortunately, that mantle seems to have been taken there. I'm not going to say it's been taken by Kunai, as I don't think that was a fair fight, but unfortunately, they do go down there, and that is not how they wanted their game to go, as we do have Speedy, Muzz, and Luda taking this fight against Prestige. So, okay, I said maybe rotate away from Jinx's team to take an easier fight, and they choose they're going to do it with Speedy, Muzz, and Luda. I don't know if this is the best decision. I don't know if these are deliberate decisions. I just think this team's getting unlucky, and every time they find themselves here, they're just trying to scramble away, and that's exactly what's happening as you see the panic, the bounce pads blocking them. Prestige knows there is nothing they can do. You just ran into Team Jinx, and then you disengaged to run into Team Speedy. That's truly, truly unfortunate.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. ESC Jackson is going to get pinched by two teams. One on the mountain, of course, Muzz and Crew on the back edge there. 99 points, Looter. Muzz, Speedy approaching that big triple-digit mark here. Zone's right in front of them. This is the perfect situation for them. They're big vibe, and here's Jinx, Alex, and Worthy. As we were just mentioning them, you can see they're not far off, and they're moving closer and closer. So they're also going to be just on the outskirts of all these big trios here. Oh, man, they easily get zapped right here. Do have to be careful, but Muzz is going to get down with only one tag. Not bad.
918 above. They have all the damage in the world. They could just comfortably sit here on the edge of this one if they wanted to. Could kind of rotate around the backside. They got these big hills, these big mountains to cover them. They don't need any damage, so they want to try and cut down the sidelines rather than trying to expose the sidelines, as you'd see for teams here like Shane, who are up on the edge, building up and trying to get that damage, as you know they're going to be below or close to below the Storm Surge based on this positioning. Too scared to rotate in early, as we see Decker's team down below. 268 above, though. 5 players have to go down as Storm Surge is now active. If you guys are watching from home, you don't follow much competitive Fortnite, you don't know how Storm Surge works. Very simply put, it's just a threshold that you have to get above. You can't be the team that's done the least amount of damage in the lobby. If you are, and there's too many players alive at a certain zone, this zone being 70, you will get hit for 25 damage every 5 seconds until either your team falls, you go below 70 players, or you do enough damage to jump up.
You saw right there, Fresh was by himself, as we saw just a couple instances ago. Nubatoon gets taken out there, so Fresh now, again, just holding on to dear life here as a solo. We're hopping onto the other side. Look at this rotate/battle going down. It's Deckers. Kane BK here trying to move. Kane's in front. Deckers on the backside with his trio trying to rotate on in, and it's just tag for tag, tit for tat right here. And again, they're just outside the zone, and now he's going to find just a few tags that he needed to stay in. Both sides are just 200 above the surge here. And I think they know they have the men's advantage, right? They saw them moving on in. But look at that, man. What's that? Stratega here doesn't have any real points on the board. Just 2.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. You think that's the one elimination they've gotten this game, and it's game number 3. They've really got to step up and do big things. Teams CLR and Shane not looking the worst right now. They've got 24 points on the board. Need to pick up the pace, but one good game should be enough to kind of secure that one if they can. As we have our far northwestern zone, and every single zone has gone west in some kind of form today. We haven't got a single east zone, so teams like Jinx happen to make the pretty tough rotates, but same with Team Muzz as well. Muzz's team coming out of Lazy Lake, so most of the teams at the top are proving that it doesn't matter where the zones go, you can be consistent if you are a solid team. This is another zone that is going to favor our first place team, Basil, Vortex, and Jace coming out of Craggy Cliff, so things looking fantastic for them as all these players set up and try and find their real estate. Again, always trying to educate you guys at home. This is zone 3 right now, so a lot of those players are going to try and go center. You see them all setting up. You don't want to be on the edge of third. As I say that, though, our big team jumping up above the triple digits. Luda, Muzz, and Speedy want to be on edge because they know if they're going to take fights, they need to be on an edge of zone, a side of zone. There's going to have less players. Consider the dead side of zone. There's not many people over here, not many eyes on them, so if they take fights like this, they're not going to get third-pied and sprayed out, as they've now gotten another elimination on the board. 4 now of the, there's only been about 30 players that have gone down, and they've got 4 of them. They're not doing too bad.
No, they're doing great, honestly, and we've seen it multiple games now. That middle of the pack, this middle of the game here, they just have the lead, right, with elims and whatnot, getting active, dropping teams. Anyone they want to take, they do end up winning so far. Here's Chances, Overstrands, and Crew. Again, we're hopping back with Muzz in them. You can see, look at that, already at 5 eliminations. They're going to find another straggler who's left behind here, and they wrap them up.
They wrap him up, and that's another one now. And those freebies are so good if you can find them, especially with eliminations being worth 2. And Chance's team now need to do something. They're stuck beneath Pace, Remy, and Spraz. A team that I was expecting more from coming into the FNCS. I really do hope they can do something big here. Haven't actually got a chance to see how many points they're on. Can't really see them on the leaderboard, so I have to think, no, they're in 10th right now. 24 points. So coming into this, they're just outside that top 8. I hope they can step up. Some of the best players in the region, I would say, a couple seasons ago. Haven't heard too much from them since, but that's what getting this broadcast is all about now, highlighting some of those players that really can step up. We see Oatly, Raptor, and Prizzy in there. Timmy putting the pressure on them as one of the underdogs to do well here. As there it is, we get Asian Mike getting knocked out here by Wavy Alex. So Alex, Jinx, and Worthy not only getting their points on the board with eliminations, but also much needed Storm Surge.
Yes, Storm Surge is definitely important no matter what the zone that you're on, because it always ends up catching up here. But this game's going a lot more fast-paced than I expected, especially considering that, you know, a lot of teams are on the bubble. We saw a lot of teams in that 15 to 20-ish point threshold. It may not seem like a lot, but for what it's worth, it is a very close competition to break into top 8. It's only those top 3 squads that are really breaking away from the pack. Everyone else is in somewhat of a race between themselves.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for them to try and jump up and do something, because that's what I said. This is the most difficult heat, hands down, for OCE. OCE usually only having 2 heats. Now having 4 has really spread those top-tier players really thin, but Heat 2, for some reason, just landed where it was just very, very stacked, and that's what we're going to see. So you will see that top 8 being very heavy. I imagine there'll be a lot of teams down the bottom that really do struggle to get off the, 0 to 10 points, but in that top 8, there are 8 teams in this that I could easily see going through, so someone's going to have that rough day. It looks like maybe that is going to be some of the teams we've seen on the board. We saw Fresh's team jumping back up, stepping into this one. Chances gets an elimination on the board. That's big. I like the tip of the hat there, who's rocking Lockie's Icon Series skin. Obviously, OCE just got their 2nd Icon Series skin recently. We got Laser Beam added into the game. We got the Smoko Break, as he calls it. We have Laser Beam Tradie. It's great to see, but I love to see Chances still rocking his brother's skin, which is so super cool to see. Haven't seen too many of the Laser Beams out here today, though.
I mean, listen, they're showing up in good force. Shout out to whoever's like running the OCE community management, because this guy's hooking it up over on that side. You know what I mean? Like, NAEU, step it up, guys. What are you doing?
Hey, we got some of the biggest content creators. We got a small population. We got the big boys here, and that's why the pressure comes out as well. Fresh has got his bundle too. It's always exciting times breaking down here. As right now we have Carpet's team again. I talked about some of those teams that are really going to be struggling to get off that 0 to 10. Is Gazer, a team that was down there, takes down Speedy and Luda. So Muzz here now having to do something big. That was a straight 3v3 that it looks like, I have to imagine, they're just not going to win. I mean, Muzz is a phenomenal player. I'll put it on him to be one of the most mechanical in the region, really fast with it. See if he can step up here, phasing through that stair. Muzz has to build away. He has 6 splashes. Gonna have to just use those right now. I don't think it's worth holding on to him. Hits the bouncer before he pops them. Maybe get down and use the splashes. Going for the mini first, so showing the composure. But again, I mean, there's no point saving a mini. Just get the splashes off, get your health up, and then take the fight, as Muzz has to do it as a solo. 3 eliminations on the board. I wouldn't be surprised if Muzz, I was gonna say, could try to make it 4 or 5, even as a solo. You could never count this kid out. I do love him as one of the best, most exciting players to watch in OCE.
I mean, he's proven just that. The fact that he had the heart to sit out there and still go for the minis, optimizing gameplay all the way through to the final instances. And now, even then, he's still going to make his way to that new zone, so don't count him out. Not just yet. Kunai there was still alive for a second. Gazer's going to find chances on a knock, and these are very important exchanges, guys. These are so many players that are just close to top 8. Every game for these players matters so much because of how close the competition is. But for someone like Muzz is already qualified, right? Like, he doesn't care. He's just hopping in. He's popping off.
And he's doing it as a solo. There it is. He gets another elimination. Make that 4. Takes down Kunai as a solo. Remember, Kunai's team is up there right now. They're really trying to have a performance. They're in 4th place, so he's not just taking down one of the bottom teams. He's just taken down 4th place team. The team that's 2 places down him takes down one of the solos there. And Muzz is still doing big things to walk through here as we see a bit of a shake-up here. This is something we haven't seen so far. We don't have Jinx, Alec, and Worthy on high ground. Instead, going over to Kazi, Spy, and Russian. Doesn't matter how good your positioning is. Sometimes you just don't get the zones. But what can Team TP do with this? This is a team that needs a big game, and what a way to get it, Monster. Getting half-half and then getting the first rotating zone on high ground. As I say that, though, Team Jace coming up to play. I said earlier they don't like to go for high ground often. Maybe showing why here is Jace just gets absolutely beamed up as he ramps up. Never mind, I was about to start hyping that one up as the play of the tournament, Monster. Vortex and Basil get up here, but at the sacrifice of Jace, he goes down.
Yeah, was it worth it? We'll find out. But this is the second game now in a row that Team P, the full trio, had half in, half out, and the first moving, and then still lose high ground, though. So something is not going right for them. These other high ground teams are just proving that they want to be dominant, and it's costing Team TP their game right now because they're still on that bubble threshold. Even now, they lost that free ride to endgame, as we like to say. Once again, though, it's Jinx, Alec, Worthy who take advantage of the chaos, and now they have the most dominant position here. They were just quicker to the draw.
Quicker to the draw, and that's what it's going to take here when you need to step up and have those big games. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, and they're on high ground yet again, a place you will see them so often. You'll never see a team more synonymous with being dominant in a region in this particular playstyle as you will see Jinx and OCE. I know you have the Zayt Safin stretch of NA East, you have Centered, Edgy, and Commandment on the low ground. People become synonymous with a playstyle, but when you're this much better than the region, when you really are the best of the best consistently, not just day after day, week after week, season after season, they find themselves in this position so often, and when they have it, it is honestly a work of art. It is just a thing of beauty how well they play this high ground and how everyone knows their roles.
Yeah, definitely. I see Teaker still popping off in the feed there. Someone's going to go down. Fresh still in the mix here. Here's Trexie popping off as well. 5 elims for them. Big game. That's going to help them jump up once again. Big points that they're needed. Remember, these are battles for blood, sweat, and tears here. You want to break it out of heats. You do not want to get left behind. Top 8 is all that matters. These rounds are make or break situations now. You make it this far into the game. You put all this time into the round. You need to play for top 3.
You need to get those big placements. I see Fresh running around as a solo right now. Remy, Pace, and Spraz are in this one. Pace has fallen. What can Remy and Spraz do? Breaking their way through 11 teams. They've only gained 6 placement points. Think about how far into the game we are. They've only gained 6 points for their effort as Fresh is doing big things, taking down Chance, a good friend of his on the low ground. Fresh does it better than almost anyone else when it comes to the tack. But when I say almost anyone else, one of those players who will almost always do it better is Muzz. He is just that ridiculous. I put pressure on him, right, Monster? I said he might get 4 or 5 eliminations as a solo. He is up to 7 eliminations as we're getting a bit of a sea shanty here from Jinx. He's just marching his way on high ground. They're just too comfortable with it. They know they're on 93 points. They're pushing the qualification already. And again, we say it all the time. Me and Timmy, we love this region, but man, the players at the top really are on a whole nother level. That's what you're seeing from Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, and that's what you're seeing from Muzz here as TP trying to put their name on that same pedestal, trying to push through these builds. Same with the Mania's team on the low ground. Really, I guarantee no one will enjoy qualifying more. It'll mean more to Mania than any other player here today if he can manage to make it through into the grand finals.
He's one step closer. He does have 10 elims already. Take a look at this, though. Things are still going down on the low ground. Prizzy, the accidents of shakedown. Oh, no. He's going to be beating himself up after that one, but he's going to find floppers. This siphon as well, as Jinx is beating the war drum on high ground, walking his way to the win right now. Trexie in the low. You talked about Mania and how much this means to them. I mean, they're one step closer now. Since high ground is trolling a little bit, right? So it's important for them now.
It is, and like I said, they need a more Mania and Ravy, Trexie. They can do a big game. If they can do big things here and try to get that second place even, I don't know, even with Jinx, Alec, and Worthy messing around a bit on the high ground, you can never count them out. The zone is closing out. Last game, we didn't get the heal off. I don't know who has it here. It looks like Mania did have the heal off, but I think it's down to the bandages. But either way, they will not beat Jinx's heal off. He has the 6 splashes. He has the jellyfish, but that is a second place for Mania's team. That is huge points for them. That is a 10 elimination second. That is going to skyrocket them up the leaderboard, potentially already into qualification as Jinx closes things out the way he does best with a cheeky sea shanty.
Hey, listen, you know, I'm getting phone calls here. You guys got to slow down, all right? We get it. We got to come to grips with the fact you guys are good. You're proving it. You got it. You know what I mean? The what is it? 2-game qualification. That's a pop-off.
That's a pop-off. Yeah, we've got a lot of teams already jumping up, but at the same time, with how top-heavy this heat is, we're talking about all these teams who have already qualified, but man, I'm seeing a lot of teams between that 70 to 110 point mark. Maybe qualification will be higher than Heat 1 because the top 8 really can take it up. If they play consistent, they keep doing what they're doing, it'll go higher than Heat number 1, but we'll have to see how the leaderboard's breaking down here. We'll throw it to the desk with Vandy, Timmy, and Fallout to let us know how everything's shaken up.
Thanks so much, Aussie Antics and Monster. Again, it's just going to be the Jinx, Alex, and Worthy show, at least on that high ground. 3 for 3 games now that they've taken height. But I want to kind of change the tempo because Muzz is who I want to focus on. Even though that he knows that his squad are going to qualify, he's just challenging himself. He's trying to go to even bigger heights. Timmy, you mentioned that there was an important kill he picked up in the half-half that influenced the rest of the game. I wanted you to kind of delve a little bit more into that.
Well, he got that refresh at half-half. I can't remember who it was on, but that refresh he got meant that he could take the entirety of first moving safely and then basically make the entirety of second safely as well, using up the mats that he had. He could just play safe tarps, basically make a really safe rotation. And then from there, it was him just fragging out third moving. That third moving is really congested. There are people getting split from their teammates. There's all sorts going on. It's extremely chaotic. There's lots of stuff going on. And he's someone who stays composed. He's someone who's got lots of experience in those really stacked late games. And it's down to him basically clutching up. And it was awesome.
Yeah, for me, Timmy, it was his survivability, right? The fact that his teammates got taken out, he was next up to get taken out, and he's able to actually hit the bouncer and survive long enough to make it to the third moving circle, and then, of course, to take advantage. So I think a brilliant showing from Muzz. But again, the best thing we've seen in that game and throughout, just the consistent high ground and the ability and just a quick reaction for Jinx & Co. to take high ground has been great.
Well, let's go to a short break, but then I'm keen to see if they can really continue the rest of this because now we've officially hit the halfway point. So don't go anywhere. We're going to jump to a short break. You can watch the highlights of this match number 3, and we'll be right back. Welcome back from the break to Season 5's FNCS for OCE, presented by the Australian Open. We came just off a hot victory royale in match number 3 from Jinx, Worthy and Alec. Match number 4 is going to be underway soon, so let's check in with our casters, Aussie Antics and Monster.
It is. Game number 3 is already underway. We have the hotspot. We have reached the halfway mark, and Monster talked about earlier. This is where the pressure gets turned on. You have 3 more games to make it count. You got to hit around that 100-point mark. You already have now 3 teams on over 100 points. So things are well and truly underway as we now jump into our game 3 that is also underway, but nothing too crazy going on yet, as we can see, except for one thing I'm noticing, no one at Craggy, and that is the usual drop spot of our first place team. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Sorry, our third place team now. So I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like a couple teams might have missed the mark here, but Pleasant Park does have a scrappy fight going down already. Hello on high ground. Caden on the other side of the barrel, though, trying to play good defense, and it's going to work out. The Siphon's going to keep him up here. Okay, important fight for teams that are way down in the standings. I mean, is the competition out of anyone's reach? I'd say no, right? I'd say no. I think the competition is still very much in anyone's reach here. 3 games of Fortnite is a big deal, especially if you pop off in 1 or 2 of those rounds. You can really catch up here. Top 8's 44 points, so anyone can still catch up.
Yeah, and 5th's only 57, so it's really not that bad. When you think about this format right now, you can really jump up there, and OCE is a region that allows for that as well. We saw last grand finals for Trio FNCS, Repulse's team having a really poor day 1 and then coming huge with day 2. I can't remember how many victory royales it was, but it was an absolute ridiculous tear for them to jump up on the leaderboard. In saying that as well, we had our original Trio FNCS winners in OCE actually Hillo's team managed to qualify in last place going into the grand final and then win the entire thing on the day. So you really can see some crazy things happen in OCE. So I don't think there's any team that's out of this one by a long shot. If you really find the right teams, you really have the right game, especially with this big victory royale point format in Elimsworth too, you can have a 10-15 elimination game and everything changes for you in an instant.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we saw it happen with Basso, Vortex, and Jay Scott there, right? They pulled it off that first place victory royale with 14 eliminations, then follows up with the third place 11 elims, virtually qualifying in 2 games. So being that there's 3 rounds of Fortnite still in front of us, anything can very much happen here. Take a look up top, though. Looks like Maki, Kunai, and crew did win their draw spot over by the Shark. So, you know, same stories unfolding. Here's Team TP, man. They have to be so upset. We talk about how they lost high ground 2 games in a row. If you missed the last 2 rounds, what happened was they had the stronghold, but it's Worthy, Jinx, and Alex who just keep giving them a run for money up top. They have good early games. They have good mid games. It's their end game that's holding them back a bit here.
Yeah, they did big things. They came in 4th place in the end, so not bad points. Again, in a normal format, that'd be looking pretty good. We've talked about it. Top 3 is half of the placement points on offer, over half. You get 16 points for getting 3rd, 2nd, and 1st combined, and you're only getting 14 points for getting top 17 to that top 3. So going down in 4th is such a big swing. If they managed to just get that 3rd, they would have racked up 6 extra points. In game number 2, they went down 8th, so you touched on it there perfectly, Monster. They're getting close. They just need to do a little bit better, but they're still on track. They are our 8th place team right now. Remember, top 8 is what's going to qualify through into the grand finals. Any team from 9th to 16th is going to go through into our reboot round where they have 1 single match to get the victory out to go into the grand finals. So all is not lost, especially for Team TP. They're doing things well. If they just have 1 good game, not a decent game, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, here's XAV, Lemon, Losey. We've seen this fight go back and forth now. This time around, not looking too hot for Frosties, who's down low with Fleeks here. I'm only seeing 2. Never mind, the 3rd is definitely there. Sin, who's right behind the wall there, but they're all healing up and trying to bounce back. This fight at the Stealthy Stronghold, like I said, Frosty's team has been winning it. You can tell by the reflection in the points after that game 1 that really set them up ahead. This is not where you want to be, though, on defense in the middle of the pack here, especially when you're on the bubble.
Yeah, they've got good firepower there. I'm seeing that legendary lever axe shotgun. You really can't count that out, as right now we have Pace, Spraz, and Remy getting keyed here. I mean, that is a full send with the vehicle. There is no doubt in my mind this team wants to fight. There is no way you make that push unless you do, or maybe they just didn't realize the team was there. No, they're setting up for it, but I don't think they realized that Remy and Spraz's team had the vehicle too to disengage. They're now going to switch it up for the taxi and see if they can maybe go in pursuit, or they're going to go into the rotate as Remy, Spraz, and they get out of here. I don't know. I'm really worried about that team right now. Pace's team needs to step up and do big things. As Frosties, with that firepower, I talked about that legendary lever action shotgun, putting it to work here. They have 2 eliminations on the board, so I think this is a 3v1. It is.
Ooh.
That's the closeout there. They take him down. I would say clean wipe. I mean, Buttercup's been knocked, but that's still good. But, I mean, taking the L, hitting a bit of disrespect, but that's 6 points they sorely need, as Jalen, Squeaks, and Zora need a big game here as well.
Yeah, and this is a team that we expected to do a lot better. At least I did. And they're having a rough time right now. Talk about squads keying. That's what they're doing. They're pushing a fight on the back edge here. We talk, you need those 2 big rounds. We know that it's all possible, but it's going to have to, happen off the backs of some big fights.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put Squeaks on blast here as well. This has happened a few times now with Fresh's team. They split up last minute, made a new team, then didn't qualify for the grand finals, picking up Slayer. They all missed out, had to sit this one out. Zora and Jalen choosing to drop Price, who is a phenomenal player in the region, to pick up Squeaks. They managed to qualify in the qualifier 3, but if they manage to do that, but then don't make it out of the qualifiers, they're going to feel a bit silly. I mean, when you drop a player that has the experience of Price, who's been around since the beginning of Fortnite competitive, really has the confidence to play in these end games and these stacked situations, I really think the pressure is going to be on them now to perform, because you got to back up that decision. Having a bad day is one thing, but then making a decision like that and then struggling, I do have high hopes for them. They need to have a big game, and High Ground's what's going to do it, especially for a team that's that aggressive. So it's now or never, because they've got 3 games left to make it happen.
Yeah, not only that, their qualifier round wasn't the greatest, right? They literally just pulled through. Honestly, giving us a close run for the money and keeping it exciting for the broadcast. But, that's not the way you want to qual, right? That's not the kind of lead up performances you want coming into heats, and it's still carrying over. Are we going to see another nail biter for Zora, Squeaks, and Jalen here? If you're a fan of them, there's going to be a lot of stepping up they're going to need to do. Take a look at the map. You saw them just outside of Sweaty Sands. They still have a long way to go. No one's going to be in sight, so it should be easy rotate nonetheless. Here's where the zone's going to pop in 2 seconds, in 1 second, and now. Where is it? It's a far pull. It's going east.
The first time we've seen even slightly east, I don't really even want to call it east. I feel like that's pretty essential as you can get. Like, that's the least amount east you can go. So maybe the east team's feeling a little bit better that at least it's not west. So things looking fantastic there. This would have been a fantastic zone again for our 3rd place team, Basil, Vortex, and Jace, but I have got confirmation they did not connect into this game for whatever reason. So 3rd place team is sitting this one out, but on 108 points, I have to think they're sitting pretty inside that top 8. It's unfortunate though. You really do want to make a mark and you want to get as much practice as you can, especially coming into the grand finals next week. But either way, not too bad. They're already in the position. You don't want to have that if you're in one of these teams that's down there though right now, as really there is not a lot of points separating right now. From 12th to 8th there's only 13 points, and I say only because 6 eliminations is worth 12. If you get a decent amount of placements on there, it's close. And when I talk about that 12th place team, it is Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon on 31 points, 5 places out of qualifying. They have to step up now.
Yeah, they got to continue to just soldier on through. There's such a long race to the finish line for a team like Fresh, who are just so far behind. And by so far behind, I mean, like you mentioned, 6 elims, right? 6 elims, couple high placements. You know that threshold is going to continue to increase as well. Here's Kimba, Shane, Swam here. Another squad that's just inside the marker up against Decker and Striga. Again, this is a battle that means everything right now for the standings. For Carpet, Stratega here in Deckers, that's their top 8 to break in, to get closer to top 10. For the team down low, it's they're maintaining right now in the tournament, right? To make sure they stay on pace to qualify through.
Yeah, it's always when you see these ones in the qualifying rounds, you see those teams that are on the bottom, they're looking desperate, they're playing aggressive, and that's what it is. When you're at the bottom, as much as you want to try and play your best Fortnite, you're playing to win each fight. You're playing one step at a time. You've really got to kind of get your way to that end game. You can't just sit back and play normal Fortnite. You need to play aggressive Fortnite as Fresh goes down to Piri and gets capitalized onto by Overstrand. So that is looking really, really bad for Team Fresh here. If you're a Pickle Gang fan, you need to kind of step up and show some support, because they're going to need it coming into these last few games.
Look at this. Swam, Shane, and Kimba are going to have to play defense here as Tertiga and company come back with Deckers. They were sand tunneling out of the fight, but Thrusty, Lucas, and Apso roll up, and all of a sudden they say, hey, this is a fight we can take advantage of. We can take advantage of the chaos. And now they come right back into the mix here, trying to throw themselves into this conversation. It's not going to end up being anything. It's going to be a disengage, and everyone's going to be on top of one another. But you see what kind of time they're on. They're on that fight time right now.
Yeah, they're on that fight time, and that's what it is. Teams that are desperate, they're at the bottom, and that's what OCE always has. You have those tumultuous teams that really need to step up, have big games, and have big fights, and they're the ones you want to avoid. I've been talking to a lot of the pros about that in the last few days, coming into their heats. Everyone talks about, oh, I've got such a difficult heat, I've got a hard heat, blah, blah, blah. But some of the teams in the unstacked heats get the most scared, because that's where you got teams who don't necessarily, I don't want to say know what they're doing, but they don't have the level of experience. How many times have you had a team on your walls fighting you with an edge zone pull, and you have no idea why they're doing it? That's what you're going to see now. You're going to see teams desperate. Last FNCS, we had a 12-game format for qualifiers. This time, we have a 6-game format. So you've got 3 more games to make it count. People are going to be desperate.
Whatever this TP trio is doing well, right? Every time we tune in, they're so far ahead on the Storm Surge damage. Even now, they're 1,200 damage above, where everyone else has to continue to get active. 5 enemies have to fall here. 5 players have to fall in this lobby in order for things to carry on over. We're seeing a player who's inside the sand tunnel right now as a solo. Angie down low, not looking good for him. His whole squad's down here, Wavy Angie. And I mean, 8 points in the tournament. Super rough.
Super rough position to be in. I mean, he's in the sand, he's hiding, but on 8 points, you can't really be hiding. You got to make big plays. You got to step up and do something. Speedy, Luda, and Muzz just having the confidence like they talked about earlier with me today. They were going to run through almost every team they could see, but last game, they met their match. Speedy and Luda went down there. Muzz went on to do big things and clutch up more points, but yeah, their points on the leaderboard would not be looking so confident if it wasn't for Muzz right now. They're in first place on the back of Muzz's last game. Only 8 points clear of Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, and right now, the casters and analysts, I mean, we got a bit of competition going on. 2 of us picked Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, which would be me and Fallout, and then we managed to have Monster and Timmy pick Muzz's team. So right now the pressure's on, especially for Team Muzz that's trying to get in right now. Muzz doesn't have that tactical shotgun we saw him put to work last game, having to rely on that green charge, and it's just not hitting the fire rate I think he needs for that aggression. I think the shotgun's, going a little bit slower than what he is.
Yeah, and here's your pick right there. Jinx, Worthy, and Alec trying to get into their groove right now, 140 above the Storm Surge. So again, production giving us a nice look at 2 sides of the coin here, how the fan favorites, how the caster favorites, if you will, are doing in this competition. Okay, Muzz is going to go on and reset here, trying to get his heal on. He's going to play off the heals of his teammates. It seems like they don't have heals to share, so they actually want to take this fight. Okay, he's not going to drop Muzz anything. They're just like, no, don't worry about it. Just trust us. Follow on through. We're going to take the fight.
Follow on through. I mean, Luda's got the strongest shotgun. It's crazy when you see teams that have this high caliber of players as well, when Muzz might not even be the best fighter in the team. You could argue it is Luda as well. He is phenomenal. Luda was an absolute story of anyone can make a name out of themselves from anywhere. Really hadn't done that much in the World Cup era. Hadn't done that much coming into the solo cash cups, but then out of nowhere, just stood up and started popping off to the point where I even got made fun of back in the day. My prediction, I said that I don't think Luda's going to do well at the last Australian Open. I said, look, he's a solo cash cup warrior. He's come out of nowhere. I just don't think he's going to be able to do it against the best of the best. And he showed up and proved me wrong. He came 2nd place overall. So Luda's been doing big things ever since. I mean, I had to eat my words there, and I'm happy to say that he really did just kind of have one of the biggest blow-ups of anyone. Kind of slowed down a bit now, but found himself in one of the biggest teams coming into FNCS. So I hope they can keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and it's proven to do well for them right now, as they are still leading the chase right now, leading the pack here. Already, they're 3 games, guys. A 3rd, a 2nd, and a 7th place, averaging out to 4th average placement so far. Time alive on average, 25 minutes and 36 seconds. So they're up there. They're making it all the way through every single game so far. They're not looking like they're going to slow down anytime soon. We talked about Angie being in a struggle. He's still now playing a bush. Every which way he can hide, he's doing just that. We'll keep tabs on him. His struggle of a game he's having right now. This is the halfway mark now. It's the halfway mark for all the players. Here's that team, though. Carpet's going to rotate right back into Jalen, Squeaks, and Zora. We know they need these elims.
And Remy gets elimination in the feed. Another team that's around there. Raptor as well, a team that Timmy put the pressure on to kind of step up here as one of the underdogs. And I have to agree, I think it was a good prediction from him to do well, but I haven't seen too much from them. I don't think they're doing poorly, but Nubatoon picking up the elimination on a Frosties, that is a big one. Every 2 points is going to be huge. We saw that again in Heat 1. It really did come down to just a few points in it. 8th only was 5 points clear of 9th. And when you think that's 2-3 eliminations, that's massive points there. So everyone needs to start racking these up and taking advantage of every single bit they can. Jalen, Squeaks, and Zora just not in a great spot right now. They need to make a rotate with a lot of players on top of them onto a very, very congested edge.
Yeah, we're rooting for them because, again, the story of their story so far is they had a rough struggle coming into qual. They're having an even harder time now in the heats, and it's just not proven like they're not just showing their dominance right now in this lobby, and that's why they're so far behind. And even now, right, at 24 points, they just have an uphill battle to continue to fight through. Here's Win, Hello, and Kaden, another team that's having a rough time so far. Probably the better game for them. 3 elims going to give them the 6 points. The majority of their points coming from this game alone. Okay, here's a team trying to find their stride. We always do tend to see those teams that come back, those last wins, right, in the sales here in the final instances. Who's it going to be this time? Zora's going to fall. Oh, no.
No. That is unfortunate. Zora goes down here. Squeaks and Jarl need to do something. They're holding the builds. He hasn't gone completely out of this one. I'm seeing a med kit. I'm seeing some splashes. I'm seeing some meds in there. Squeaks is up above now, but never mind. Nope. Zora did. He was in the hands of enemies. My apologies there. Never mind. I was like, what's going on here? Squeaks seems pretty comfortable about this, but no, I think they just know that he was gone there. Jarl not looking very good on the meds either. Don't know if they have any spare shield to pop there. CWAM's down below. It just managed to pick up Zora, and that is an unfortunate one. We talked about it last week when we did commentator Monster that qualifier 3. Zora, Jarl, and Papi, they are the 3 that went overseas to FNCS and dominated on the big stage, NA East, managing to win a week of their FNCS. So super unfortunate if we see Zora and Jarl not even make it into OCE Grand Finals. It would be very, very upsetting for loyal fans of the region.
Yeah, and it's upsetting for Fresh fans too. You saw Rao and Nubatoon by themselves. Fresh not in this round right now. We're already taken out, I should say, watching from the sidelines, and here it is. It's a 2-on-2. This is what happens when you take these fights on these edge zones and no one's watching. They do tend to go the distance, and you can see it comes at the cost, and this time it's the cost of a teammate, and they didn't even finish the battle. High ground's gonna go once again to the TP trio. Will it be the 3rd time? Could be the charm here for them.
They have to. I mean, all credit to them. They're setting up in the positions that give themselves the ability to get half-half. Again, it's not all luck. It's this 5th zone right now that we call half-half. We've coined it as that because it goes half in the Storm and then half in the existing zone. So you know by default of that, by virtue of that, it has to physically be on an edge because it has to go half out into the Storm. And if you set yourself up on those edges, you set yourself up for success and potentially getting it. But getting it 3 times though, Monster, that is pretty much unheard of here. But we've also seen them lose it 2 times before this, so Team TP need their big game, and honestly at the end of this, if I had a conversation with them and they don't qualify, they really have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I saw there in the feed too, Nubatoon find 1, so Freshest team still in it with Rel. Every single elim matters for that squad right there as they are trying to play catch up here in the competition. Take a look at the nice wide shot though to show the pressure, the struggle for some who have to make the move across this deadly river down below. There's Hello, Kaden, Win. We trying to see what they can do. They're just looking for shots right now on the low ground, causing chaos for teams that have to rotate. They're not too safe themselves. They still have to work their way in. Win's already doing that for them.
Yeah, Win's already doing that for them. Ernan's up here, the RPG in the back pocket, and these are the kind of players you've got to be scared to look out for to take height. Those are the players that can really upset TP's story here, as Luda has 5 eliminations on the board. I talked about it. There's very few people, and no, it's Rel. Rel and Nubatoon fall. This is game 3 now, and Fresh's team is just slipping further and further out of top 8. At this point, we might have to shift the story towards whether they can stay inside top 16 to make it to the reboot round, but I still have faith. 2 big games could do it for them, but man, they are really putting the pressure on themselves tonight.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're just, they're just trying to keep us on our toes, keep the competition close. We talk about TP losing height. Russian is down. How did they do that? They had all the room in the world to play with. This is just so bad. And of course, it's to the hands of Looter, Speedy, and Muzz, who are putting pressure on everybody. Spy is going to be able to get that pickup, though, but I don't see the 3rd to that TP trio, so it might just be wraps for them.
It might just be Raz for them. Looters up here, and again, we've talked about it. Me and Timmy will always say the best of the best in this region never disappointed. That's what you're seeing here as Team Jarl falls. So there are some new up-and-coming names and faces taken up over the old Vanguard. I mean, you've got Rel and Fresh, 2 of the biggest names in competitive Fortnite history for OCE. You have Zora and Jarl going down there as well, Squeak. So there are new faces showing up, but we do have a lot of the old guard here. Speedy, Looter on the high ground. Jinx is in the works as well down there. Again, our 3rd player place team didn't qualify, but I've got eyes on Pace's team down there trying to do big things. Worthy's still in this, and I do see a member of TP Spy who can maybe get the points they need to stay inside the top 8, because they went into this game literally on 8th.
Yeah, here it is, though. High ground hold from Luder, Muzz, and Speedy at this point. 7 eliminations. It's a cakewalk for them. They have all this control here. Material, everything in between. The heals once again. We saw in the last game, it wasn't even a close competition for them up top. Let's see if let's see if Speedy and crew are going to continue to push on. Let's see. In the low ground, though. Mako Kuma, Flus, Botlin. All right, all that's left is them two. He does get the knock. Okay, barely stays alive there, but no,
that's good,
caught.
though.
Okay, this is great for TP.
They're getting their elimination. Spy's further ahead, so that elimination, 2 points, could be big there. Now, if Spy can do something miraculous with the 42 builds, it's manageable to try to get the top 3. Maybe hit a bit of a sand-tate, as I like to say as well, as Muzz gets 2 knocks in the feed as well. So Muzz be like, hey, Luda, you have the 5 on the board. I don't like to be out-fragged here. I'm going to try and catch up. As Gazer's team down there, that's 6 eliminations inside pushing the top 5 monster. That is huge for a team on 47 points. That might be one of the biggest jumps we see here as Luda, the spray is coming out. It's 6-5, neck and neck between the fragging gods. Can Luda jump ahead, or can Muzz, or can Speedy catch up potentially? I don't know. He's doing most of the tarping. I don't want to sell him too short. But Shane right now trying to go into the sand, has 0 builds, so needs to try and get in the sand and get out. Could have maybe picked up the siphon mats from the teammate, but doesn't have time to go back as Luda is just working top down and working through this lobby. But the next team they have to push through is going to be the most difficult.
Yeah, it's still Jinx, Worthy, and Alec who are up. They've been up this entire time, still lighting up the feed here. Another top 3 for them, and Mania is in it. Remember, we talked about what this could mean for him. Someone who just plays the normal competitive game modes, doesn't really involve himself into the rest of the mix here. What can it be for someone like Mania? Another top 3 performance. This is big placement here, but it is a battle on all layers right now.
I mean, it's a battle between our predictions, too. We have our 2 teams that all 4 of us picked between, fighting it out, battling it out. Can Mania stay alive? No, Mania has fallen now. So this is a full 3v3. This is your first place team versus second place team. Your FNCS champions from last season going toe-to-toe with what a lot of people have picked to be the new favorites on the block, Speedy, Muzz, and Luda. And look at the elims. It's head and head, neck and neck between Muzz and Luda. 6 apiece, but the heal off. I mean, I talked about who's going to frag harder between Luda and Muzz, but right now I think Speedy's got the win in the bag. 1 flopper, 7 splashes to close this out. Jinx and Worthy need to do something big from the low ground. Alec maybe going to go for a bouncer play, but Speedy is so secure. 42 builds, monster. That is more than enough to make sure that no one gets up here. So who's going to get the eliminations? Who's going to get extra points? Because honestly, it would be such a big upset for Speedy to lose this one as he gets his first elimination on the board. Takes down Worthy, but he's alone now. I say that. Jinx has the exotic suppressed pistol. Okay, Jinx, what can you do? You've got the exotic. Speedy's above you. He's dropping down. Can the high fire rate break it out? I said there's no way Speedy can lose this, but he's running out of builds. He's only got 10 left. He has to go back into Storm early. Can Jinx get up there? He's chasing 4 builds. The bouncer. Can he get on top? Speedy's around the corner. He's behind the builds. Jinx comes in and the edit down. Speedy manages to edit him down. He just styled on the FNCS champions for the victory royale. Man, I love OCE so much. It is honestly so entertaining every time.
And that was just a mistake. Like, he was only doing a defensive edit, mind you. Like, just a quick cone pickup, and there was no floor there, and he fell right through. That was very exciting. Listen, first and second place, keeping it close for us all the way through to the end.
It shows the consistency. Again, we talked about how this heat is so stacked. We talk about how OCE does have those top-heavy teams, but man, to have this level of consistency from these teams. Going into that, Jinx's team had an average placement of 2nd, and they just got the win. No, sorry, came 2nd again. And then Muzz, Luda, and Speedy have an average placement of 4th and just got the win. I think between them, they're going to be sitting around an average placement of 2nd and 3rd after 4 games of a qualifier. Just ridiculous consistency, but we're going to have to see what the analysts think if they can break this down, because man, I need to breathe. I'm too excited. Vandy, take it from me.
You guys are excited. You should have heard us. We were cheering. We couldn't believe it. hair was just being held and pulled out. Like, yeah, that was, I gotta say, for Jinx and Speedy, they made sure that we have a real semis on our hands. And it's funny as well because, like I said, Casters and Alice, you guys are all picking different predictions. So we've also got like stakes in this, right? But Timmy, you kind of wanted to highlight a different team this time around. And this was actually with Kazi, Russian, and Spy. They were getting high ground time and time again, but we haven't really seen them translated into any victory royales. What's kind of going wrong for them?
Well, I've got to say, this game they got quite lucky. You generally see they land Coliseum, and from there it's really easy to rotate to what we call Twiz Hill in OCE. So that's the hill that's just south of Craggy, the one that you actually saw them set up from Zone 1. And as we rotate all the way through Zones 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then half-half, they pulled every single one of those zones from that spot. So there is a little bit of RNG involved in getting the zones in that one, but you got to think also on the pad side of RNG. In the first game, they didn't pull first moving, which meant that Jinx and Alec could take it. They got fought hard by Luda on another game. They had half-half, and then Alec, Jinx, and Worthy could take it from front side of zone. Another time where there's a little bit of bad RNG going their way. And in this game, Luda headshot snipes one of them to take them out. Really, really unlucky sort of stuff going their way. But goes to show they're obviously setting themselves up into really good positions. They just can't make it work, unfortunately.
Yeah, this honestly became the Luder show at about this point in the match here. 5 eliminations for Luder. He's the one that made the play. This is it right here. Brilliant. Actually, a quick scope right there coming from Luder, so it wasn't necessarily an easy shot. And, of course, as a result, they're able to take high ground and just rain down on everyone else. And that was a massive 15 elimination game. Obviously a crazy finish, a entertaining finish for sure there, as we saw Jinx do everything he possibly could against Speedy in the 1v1, and the accidental edit drops Jinx down to his self-elimination there through fall damage, and then of course riding out in style there. Massive game from them.
Very, very entertaining game for sure. And like Ozzy was saying, like he could barely breathe, neither could we. We just couldn't believe that Jinx really wanted to push up for it and then just have Nile. It's because the adrenaline's going. Like I think he just did so well under the pressure, and it was very entertaining to watch. But let's take a look at the standings. We'll bring them up as well because game number 5 will be around the corner. But we want to kind of update. There's a couple of teams that you feel are under threat. So Fallout, let's start with the top and then let's kind of just go through it.
I love it. It's essentially at this point a 2-horse race here, and it's the two teams that both sets of casters / analysts predicted to win it. Of course, Muzzluder and Speedy got the vote of Timmy and MDF, and of course myself and Ozzy picked Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. We have 2 games left. It's anyone's game at this point. Just depends on who's going to clutch up the most, but you can't sleep on Basil, Vortex, and Jason 4th. And of course, you heard it from Ozzy about how much this would mean for Mania to qualify. It looks like they're in a good spot here with 109 points. Then Kimball, Quam, and Shane round out 5th place here as we take a look at 6th through 10th. I want to look at the differential. 184 points in 1st. I'm interested to see 10th place, what the differential is from 1st to 10th. It's 49 points, 130 points separate our 1st through 10th place teams here, Timmy. It's crazy how top heavy this is.
Yeah, and just to quickly jump back on what you're talking about, Mania, one of those guys who we actually haven't seen much of on the broadcast, but he is just constantly there in the feed. Someone who is always alive, getting those consistent placement points, and then the odd elim point here and there. But as we go through the rest of these standings, Kunai, Kami, and Maki here in 6th. Obviously, again, we saw them come in 2nd in that first game, and then it's just about consistently placing throughout the rest of these games here with 18 elims. Russian, Kazi, and Spy, the guys that I was just talking about, they just need that one game, the one game where they put it together as they take height. So I'm looking to see that through these next 2 games. And then finishing out our top 8 in the qualifiers, or the automatic qualifiers, we've got Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatley. One of the teams who I see we'd be looking for to take a jump. They've made the jump to 8th. I want to see them keep on pushing to see if we can, make it a little bit more safe. But we've got Remy, Pace, and Spraz, another team that I expect to make a jump. And then rounding out our top 10, Sight, Gazer, and Cuts.
Yeah, and again, Kunai, Kami, and Maki have been splitting their drop spot almost every game, which has been impressive. Let's take a look at 11th through 15th here, and it's pretty close. From 11th to 8th is only about a 5 to 10 point difference here, as we see our 11th place team is Taker, LZQM, and W Puck, and we got Ripple Djokovic, which, by the way, this is the Australian Open event. You got Djokovic and Djokovic here. Big shout out to Doko, of course, sitting and suiting the Australian Open event, and Piri, of course, running that team out. Chances, Overstrand, and IW for fun. A big shot to them. That's a team of content creators and part of Power, and they're showing up in a big way here in 13th place as well. And then right there in 15th, a fan favorite, Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon. They need to have a big last 2 games if they want to qualify in top 8. But right now, they're just focused on making it to the reboot round, Timmy, as we take a look at 16th through 20th.
Yeah, they're struggling, and these last 2 games are huge. They really got to make a good push as we look at our top 20 here. We've got a good collection of teams there, some up and comers, but the big name that we want to see change here is Zora, Jarlin, and Squeaks there in 20th. As Monster and Aussie keep alluding to, the guys who went over to NA, they've got to show up here in these last 2 games. I've got confidence in them that they can do it. At this rate, they're actually looking to try get into the reboot round standings. If they have a couple of good games here, you just never know. They might end up in the top 8. But to me, that's the big story coming here into these last couple of games, is whether these guys can turn around full up.
Yeah, and I got to agree with that, Timmy. This is a team with the amount of experience that they have. If they can make it to that reboot round, they could easily win that 1-game winner-take-all and, of course, qualify through to the finals. So I'm excited to see if they can make it, Andy.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, not really many points kind of separate the bottom half of our standings of the leaderboard. So from 10 to 20, it still feels like anyone's game. There's still a lot of movement that can happen, especially if you are able to get those elims and then couple it with the Victory Royale. We'll have to wait and see. So let's get prepped for match number 5. I'm going to hand you back over to our casters. Let's hear their thoughts. Aussie Antics and Monster, what are you guys up to?
I mean, I think we're still gathering our thoughts over here. Things are still crazy. The top heavy, it is so ridiculous right now. We managed to have all of our casters picks going head to head for first place on pushing towards 200 points now in the semifinals. But at the bottom of the leaderboard, it is very, very tight, and it's anyone's game as we jump into game number 5. We have 2 more chances to do this, and I don't know if any of the teams can step up and have the game they need. The pressure is really, really on Monster.
Yeah, especially since that gap up to from 4th and above, like they're in, right? Triple digits already locked in up there. So for everyone down low, they're fighting for a very prestigious number of slots now. It was a top 8, but now it's like, you're fighting for 4 slots to say the least. That cutoff, it's 56 points at this time. If you're not up there in the 20-30 digit mark, you're really not on pace. So everyone outside this bubble, they need 2 massive games. I'm expecting the lobby to really thin out quickly.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. We saw that earlier today in Heat 1. The last game was by far the least stacked game. Really didn't have any surge warnings at any point in the game, and that's just by virtue of players going big or going home. Like, we talked about it. There is, I guess, a reason to come 9th to 16th for the reboot round, but you've really got to be gunning for that top 8 to try and have a big game. So you need to W key. Everyone at any point in the lobby is going to start playing more aggressive, and those teams at the top who know they've already qualified, we've seen it with Repulse's team previously in OCE. They like to have fun with it, and they will start treating it like an arena game if they have to.
Yeah, and they're going to be taking those fights. They're going to be crossing people's hopes out, if you to say the least here. Take a look at this fight. This is the same fight we saw in the last game, one that went a bit of the distance here over at the Pleasant Park. This time around, though, another southern zone, so they don't really have a lot of time to play with here. But once again, if you're not doing so hot this late into the competition, there's no one you can point the finger at other than yourself. With all these games in Fortnite they've had in front of them, here's a fight that's going to mean a lot. Again, still important though, right? That's a 3-point swing, and then a little more now for Likes. Blazin and Jesse are okay. A little bit of a pop-off here.
Yeah, it's going to be getting those eliminations, and that's what happens. The more and more these top teams push ahead, the more and more that we see Team Jinx and Team Speedy just really start to dominate the lobby. It means that they're getting less and less points at the top for other teams. No one else gets a chance to have those big games we keep talking about. So right now, things are so close. If anyone can just kind of pop their head above that, if anyone can kind of, see the light at the top, kind of peek through the trees into the sun, they will have that big game that'll push them really high up, because I've never seen a leaderboard where the points are so condensed at the top. We have first place 184, second 163, third 109, fourth 108, but then you jump down to 75. So between 3rd and 4th, there's already such a ridiculous jump down as well. So very, very tight indeed as K16 change up their drop spot yet again. Things really not working here today. Trying to find a new spot here against the team that also things have not been working for. Only 10 points on Vague. So 2 teams who need this fight desperately.
And Poggy's trying to get this heal off right here. He is going to successfully pop the medkit on high ground. They do control the pace of the battle right now and are able to refarm the material that they're looking for. Healthy Stronghold, another fight that's managed to turn out. It's a bit of a disengage. It seems like the exchanges were real, though. Losses taken on both sides, blows on both sides. Here's Jace the God, Vortex, and Basso trying to come back. They did have that first place hold for quite some time, being left behind just a little bit here. They find Team TP. Oh, no. This is terrible for Team TP. TP is like very much in the conversation right now for qualification. This could mean their entire run.
They were in 8th place going into last game. They're 7th place going into this game, but Team Raptor is only 2 points behind them, 1 elimination. So this is massive, and they've ran into a team that doesn't need it at all, that's in 4th place, that is well and truly clear of qualification. So they're versing a team that has nothing to lose while they have everything to lose, and that's a scary situation, especially when it's Jace, Basil, and Vortex who are in 4th place even after not connecting into last game. They're in 4th on 3 games played, so they're a very scary team. We haven't seen them take their mid-game fights though, so let's see what they can do here in this mid-game fight, as we've really only seen their points come on the back of just phenomenal end games.
Yeah, and honestly, TP's holding it down really well here. They did manage to punish Jace there. They catch a couple tags onto Vortex on the way up. And again, they jockey for high ground. They win it here as Kazi's controlling it. They already have 2 elims. They're showing, hey, we're not a pushover team. We're here to play. And we've been doing good so far. And I think Jace and crew are going to respect that here, possibly shortly now, because they're going to give them a little bit of room to breathe, a little bit of room to get off. And there, Kazi hits the disengage. They let him get away. Yup, no tags there. They should be able to safely disengage, but no, Jace is hot on the heels for the push-in.
Hot on the heels again. They've got nothing to lose. They want to take this fight. They're playing it aggressive, and this is where you're going to start to find that players are going to start to do this. Jace, Vortex, and Basil have qualified. It is very strategic of them to try to make TP's games worse. I'm not going to say they know it's their team, but any team that's around you that has a chance to qualify or even doesn't, it's worth you playing aggressive to try and get them out of there, to try and give them a rough run of it, because everything's on the grand final now. All eyes are on grand final. There is no prize money at stake here today. All the money is ramped into that grand finals with, as Vandy says it, the $90,000 dues. So they really want to clear out the teams that are around them and have that easy run in the grand final. So there is a reason why they're playing this so aggressive.
Yeah, not to mention if they push the teams out in those surrounding drop spots, it plays better for them. Also coming into the grands here. Don't forget though, I believe the dumpster makes noise if you're in it, so the wrong rattle here could be very, very bad. They're hitting their upgrades here with Tomato Man inside. And no, I think it's going to get lucky. Too. I think it's not going to make any sounds.
I thought it does. It has that kind of rattle sound cue every so often to let someone know you're in there. Maybe, again, we're going to have to start playing a bit more Monster. We've been on the cast too long. I don't know. Maybe they've changed it, but that would be massive, as the reboot cards I don't think are going to be available, but Kazi can still try and do this as a solo, as Basil's hitting the rotate as well. Good part of zone to have this, and Basil's literally going into the sand in front of him. The trigger discipline right now from Kazi. You don't normally see trigger discipline needed in a game like Fortnite, but doesn't go for the shot, knows to let them rotate. He's going to go back and see if they can maybe get the bandages. Wait, are the reboot cards still available?
He can get the cards.
If he can get the cards, this would be such a big clutch. This would be massive for your team that is in 7th place right now. They need this.
Wow,
Kazi's doing big things, and he grabs the bandies. So this could be possible. Yeah, we've got the sand. We've got the 0-point crystals. We've got the rotate. It's only a single tick zone. I think we got this.
Yeah, and it's a close zone as well, so everything's stacking up. The cards are in his favor here for a safe reboot, for a safe make, for rotate into new zone. Jace team on a fight here on the edge of zone as well, getting a little bit of pressure. That's perfect. This is everything that they need: distraction, heals, and reboot.
This is going to be a story to follow here as they have it. There's the bandages still in there. Wow. We've got the slurp shock around the corner of Coliseum, but I see a team on it, and I have to imagine it's Jace's team. It is, and I think maybe they have already used the slurp shock, or it might not still be available, as we see the Prestige is going for this one. And that's a very loud audio cue there on that reboot. They need to start moving fast, but they have the sand for it. They're going to walk on the other side of that little pathway, probably dip into the sand and try and hit a really long rotate. They don't have the firepower, but they're still in it with a shot.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would think at this point the better move is to go inside the Coliseum so his team can actually get some weapons. But
yeah,
no, they're just going to be comfortable. They're happy to just be up right now and try to get as much distance as possible. Don't forget, the desert has some pretty good loot too, right? Just like what's left over, right? So they should be able to find some weapons here shortly, so long as they continue to look. There it is. That's going to be a shotgun pickup if they wanted it. Nope. Instead, they just want to play for this zone here. It is going to be a long rotate too, so a lot of pressure on the line now for Team TP to come back here.
I mean, and when you look at it right now, from 7th place all the way down to 14th is only 18 points in it. And when you think about 30 points for a win, eliminations are worth 2. That is not a lot at all. A win right now could see you go from 20th to inside top 8. It's just because of the way that these games are playing out. The fact that we have our top 2 teams being so ridiculously consistent, having 3 of the 4 wins on the board right now, it's really pushed this top-heavy leaderboard where anyone down in the middle pack could win this. We do this as casters a lot, you know what I mean? You always think, are they trying to build the hype? Are they trying to do it? That's our job at the end of the day. But I can't tell you how close this heat is and how literally anyone could qualify. And we have big names that need that win too. We have Freshrail Nubatoon down in 15th. We have Zorajal and Squeaks in 20th. Some of the favorites to do well in this lobby are just 1 game away from making it all happen, but they've only got 2 chances to do it. The second last game of the day.
Yeah, you even have Remy, Pace, and Spraz just at 9th place too, right? On the bubble there, just outside of the looking glass. You can see everything that's happening. Here's a look at high ground, though, as things pull down to the Misty Meadows. It's Alec Jensen Worthy, once again, the champs in the lead there, holding down the strong spot. Hydro Dam, RPG controllers, Ernan, Rovar, and Rex here. Once again, looking comfortable. Zone's putting on top of them. Fresh round Nubatoon, man, they need to continue to step it up here. They need to step it up right now. They need one big end game to put them in the money.
Yeah, going into this game, 56 points was top 8 right now. So anyone that's below that, like Fresh's team, needs to start stepping up. They've got the Cabbages, they've got their Holy Hedges. Things really haven't gone their way, but it's the second Southern Zone we're going to see. That last Southern Zone was real Southwest. It went off into the water. We talked about how difficult of a zone it was. Fresh is going to hit it off the dam now, going to rotate all the way around as Nubatoon is very, very, very far ahead on this rotate. Looks like Rel's a bit split as well. Not really sure what the play is there as we have team power. So we have Overstrand chances and iDub pushing from the bottom around the edges. And we have Lynx's team on the high ground in the wood getting sprayed out a little bit as I think Hixel got sprayed out and fell. I'm pretty sure Chance with the cheeky play managed to catch him off guard. I think it did. I think they managed to knock them out there on the wood.
Yeah, that sniper putting into big play here. He's going to find the big hit and the thirst. There goes on loot. It slides down the mountain. Pressure from the cross a mountain as well, but they will be able to secure everything there. So a big come up for them, and they have time on the clock to work with here too. They can take their time. It's Ernan and company, the Hydro Dam RPG holders who are looking inside to this team power in the valley here. But 4 eliminations for Chancers. Strand, not bad. That's at 53 points now. So they jumped their way up. They're taking their own fate into their own hands right now. They were in 13th coming into this. Now that puts them in top 9.
Yeah, and we still got to, again, focus on that 16th place as well. The 9 to 16s for the reboot round. Those teams, Timmy talked about it, Fallout talked about it. Those big teams like Zora, Squeaks, and Jarlin can have that big game when it counts to qualify, as we see Basil, Vortex, and Jace pushing into this one. Prestige is off in Storm, just hiding, I think. Yeah, he does. He hits the 0-point fish, and he is gone. He is out of there, not wanting to get involved in what looks like this is... No, he's left his teammate behind. Jax, I was saying this is a solo, but no, that was Jax's teammate that just hit the 0-point fish, choosing to run away, and honestly, I have to respect it. I don't think there was anything he could have done in this fight to help his duo. So Jax can maybe disengage or go up on the high ground. Basil, Vortex, and Jason this one chasing him down only as the gray tactical shotgun. This is not going to end well for Jax here.
Yeah, they found him out to be a solo. They knew it. They were close to catching the 2, but that trio that steps in was a little bit of a saving grace, I guess, to extend their route. You see on the map, he's the red cursor all the way down to the side. That's Prestige, who just got away. No HP on him either. Now it's Engi who's on the other side. We already know Engi's trio is not doing well in this competition. Last we saw, he was solo, 10 points in the sand, hiding in bushes, doing anything to stay alive. And if you're on the run from a team that's in top 4, you're in a bit of a bad situation.
I did see Team TP in the distance, though, and that's definitely going to have to be the crowd favorite here. That's going to have to be your underdog you're cheering on. Not only are they trying to qualify in this game, underdog when it comes to the standings, they're just inside top 8. They did hit the little reboot, and now the big rotate, so they're in it, but they have to be a bit shambles, as there it is. Spy's weak, Kazi's on top, and Russians just hitting the rotates and trying to get in and get past this team while they can. Looks like Frosty's going to let them rotate potentially. Spy is down to next to nothing. They really are the definition of shambles right now, except for Kazian. I mean, I say that. They found some loot along the way, Monster. That loadout's looking better than a gray pistol, at least.
Yeah, some shotguns, you know, some gray small fry, you know, whatever you can work with. Honestly, living off the land here, we knew they'd be able to find something, just considering where the zone went. There's so much loot pathing, right? There's so much floor loot from here. or from where they were at Coliseum down low. But Luder, Muzz, and Speedy here looking kind of comfortable. Big loadout, big heals, big ammunition, just everything you can ask for to come into the last game, to really fight for first place, right? To come into these final instances now. I mean, they're setting themselves to break away from the pack. There's Worthy. They're focusing in on this. Could be big. Catch Gazer. Worthy's going to back out. Okay.
And it's scary for the team they're spraying in on right now. It was Spraz's team that was around the corner, who is currently in 9th place. And there it is. Pace, Remy, and Spraz, I was just talking about them. They are in your 9th place right now, looking to jump in as TP Russian goes down in the feed. So they ended up finding one of the TP crew. I think the other two still made it through. And I believe that's actually Muzz, Speedy, and Luda. That's the same team that I think they ran into endgame last time and they fell. So 2 games ago, they were on the receiving end of this. And unfortunately, Cuts and Gaze are now losing this fight, making it 1 apiece as Spraz picks up the very much needed 2 points in the elimination.
Yeah, definitely that knock there is going to be huge for them, as they are so close. I mean, you was literally just setting the stage, right? You're saying it's close down here, and it really is. It's Prezi, Oatly, and Raptor who are in 8th right now, holding on barely by a slim margin. The more elims Remy, Pace, and Spraz pick up now, the more likely they are to continue to break on in and race their way up. 52 points here, still not enough, but it's something. It's 1 step closer now.
I mean, that elimination they just got onto Side, Gazer, and Cuts. They're on 49th. They were 1 point behind Remy, Paz, and Pace, and Spraz. They were less than elimination. Half elimination was what separated them, and then Remy just managed to take one of them out. This heat is so close around that top 8. Anyone can take it. The victory is ahead right now. We can definitely focus on Muzz, Luda, Speedy versus Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, and I guarantee when it comes to the end game, we're going to see their names as well, because between them, they have an average placement of 3rd and 2nd in 4 games. But right now, it's all about that focus around who's that top 8, who's going to make it into the qualifiers. This new iteration of FNCS, there is no prize money on the line in these qualifying weeks, as Mania, again, I said a team that I think, honestly, I'd have to put it on Mania for this qualification to mean more for him than any other player here today. And on 109 points, they've already done it, but he wants to push forward. He wants the big points.
Yeah, definitely continue to put up, get that good placements in there. Practice up for what's going to be the finals here now, because you've done punched your way to the dance here. Spy's going to get caught out though. No, at least no, they do placement. Pick up. So they do pick up 1 more elimination before they went down. They had 2 before that, and actually at least at some points. It's not a lot though. That's going to lock them in at 64 points. They make a little bit, right? They nudge their way closer for the final game. We're going to have to keep an eye out on Trio TP. It's going to be close for them.
And Nubatoon just picked up 2 eliminations in the feed, so that is very much needed 4 points for them to push them up as well. So everyone's jockeying for this, and you see most of these teams setting up around the edges of this zone. It's going to depend who gets it. We've seen a brutal water zone today. We haven't seen a brutal mountain zone, as Mania goes down to some brutal lobby focus. They're only 35 or below as well, so right now they need some big tags to get some damage up. Only 3 teams have to go down, but active Storm Surge is going to be an issue for this team, as Luda, Muzz, and Speedy are working their way down. And again, this team's just always got their hands on those big shotguns. They just, I don't know, Lazy Lake, I guess you have the upgrades sometimes. You do manage to get the auras sometimes, NPC there, but we have Kuma, Fluz, and Botland. We saw them in, I think, Qualifier 1 Monster doing big things out of Sweaty. They had to give up Sweaty to Zora's team here today, but they're trying to push up the leaderboard as well. Only about 20 points, so things looking a bit grim.
Yeah, it's going to be a long push though for Luder and crew. Everyone who's up north, you can see the Storm Surge going down. I believe Ernan, the Hydro Dam team, and his whole trio, they did pull the zone down on that mountain. They were based up there just a little bit ago. So we'll see how that's going to work out for them. There's Luder and company already on the big rotate here, trying to rotate in, use those bouncers, and it's working out. It's working out so well. They're not being really focused as much anymore. They're getting tagged in the back here. Luder pausing for his squad mates, trying to give him some support. Jalen has high ground. Squeaks and Zora. This is massive math for them. That's a team that needs it.
Right now as well, if you can see this one, Nubatoon just picked up so many eliminations on this rotate around the edge. Chances went down. They took down that team that was focusing on the bottom of that mountain, and then Chances now gets followed up on as well. This could be the big mountain zone, and this is where the big points come from. So we got Jalen, Squeaks, and Zora setting up to have their big game. We have Fresh Rel, Nubatoon setting up to have their big game, but can they play spoiler? Can we have Team Muzz or Team Jinx just ruin the story for all these players we've seen so far? They always step up. They don't need the points, but there's no reason they're not going to played their best Fortnite, and these players need to prove they can hang with them. If you want to make grand finals, if you're saying you deserve it, you can't get mad when the top place teams take you out, because you're trying to say you're good enough to play with them in grands. They've already gone through, and here it is. This is what I saw. Nubatoon with the 4 eliminations. That is 8 of their 46 points. Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon. The time is now. You have 2 games to push up into the triple digits to get 54 points total on top of what they have now to get that 100 mark that I think will guarantee them being safe. They need a top 5 or even potentially top 3 finish here to do it.
Yeah, and the first, second, and third places are all next to one another. You can see Worthy right in the middle. Down low, it's Basso and company, and in front, it's Muzz and crew all on the rotates here. So this is a congested, powerful, stacked up side here on the eastern portion of the zone. And again, look at the fighting. It's all going down. They're all comfortable. They're all confident as well. This is a perfect storm for the rest of the lobby. You want these guys to really, sweep one another under the rug, if you will, and let them do the hard work so that everyone else can win this game. On height, though, oh, man. Remy, Pace, Raz, that's the team that needs this. Obviously, we already know Zora and crew need it, too. Nubatoon needs it. Look,
another elimination. Everyone's ramping up. Who can try to hold us? Squeaks is scrambling. They want to try and hold this. The spray comes out. They need the damage. Fresh on the back foot right now, pushing up, and Nubatoon is just pushing through. Players, though, picked up another elimination. 5 on the board. Fresh popping those cabbages, and right now, Fresh has the win condition. I've always said this. Almost no one in OCE or the world has as consistent tac shotgun aim as Fresh. If he can put that epic tac shotgun to use, it's going to be amazing. But this is a rough rotate. The end is coming out. Fresh is lost right now, making this rotate. It is up the mountain. It is shambles. I talked about it. We've had a tough water zone. This is a tough mountain zone. Sundown always says that Old Man Mountain will take his toll, and you can see that with how fast this lobby is thinning out right now. We only have 12 teams left. Fresh managed to make the rotate from what I've seen on the feed. They need this. Jarlin with elimination. If they're still on high ground, this could be huge games for both of them.
And it's just so good for everyone else. Fresh is going to get to the front of the zone there. You can see him there. Nubatoon still in. Rel still in. Big names. Oli, who is in 8th place, still in this game as well. Fresh is going to go down, but it's not for nothing. It's an exchange. A blow for blow there. And again, with every team that falls now, points are being given out. And look at that. Nubatoon is looking to set the world on fire. He already has 6 elims. He needs to continue to put this team on his back. It's up to him and Rel now to clutch out. Jalen has doubled up the points with Zora on high ground. They're doing it here. Everyone's doing it.
These are the 2 big names we needed big things from, and they're honestly colliding right now. We have Zora just putting in absolute damage onto Rel, onto Nubatoon. They both didn't fall, but there it is. Nubatoon now falls. That is massive. If you're a Fresh fan, it's not looking good, but if you're a Zora fan, things are looking fantastic as they push forward and they push a team down that needed it. Rel's still in this, though. If Rel can secure a third, a second, maybe, it would be phenomenal. He is back up the mountain. Rel didn't drop all the way down. He was aware that if Zone went back up, things were going to be tough for these teams, as right now Speedy has to make the rotate around the edge. We have it again. We have our 2 top trios still in this one. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, all 3 alive. We have Muzz, Speedy, and Luda all alive. As I say that, though, Alec falling here as Jinx is down here doing big things. Jinx goes down too, and it's at the hands of our first place team. They can't help but find each other every endgame monster.
Yeah, now look at this. Worthy, the last man standing on his team. We still know Rel's still alive here somewhere, some way. It's a 1v1, and he's going to get it. It's going to be Speedy who takes him out. Looter, Muzz, and Speedy do clean up house there. That's another placement point here for Rel. This next elimination is massive. It's important. It's crucial for Rel's situation here. He's going to jump down for the mats and try to come back up. It is going to be a lot that he picks up here. He might steal away a 3rd place.
He could steal away a 3rd place here. He could even potentially steal away a 2nd, though. Speedy's down here. Please tell me that RPG does not find Rel. It doesn't, but somebody else does. Rel is in there. He is looking low. I can see from the health he found Oli's team. He does fall. He goes down 4th again. That is so close to so many placement points, but Zora's team needs this more than anyone in this lobby right now. Prizzy's jumped up 88 points. A big game from them. We asked of it of them, and they jumped up there. It is now your 1st place team. Speedy, Looter, and Muzz going toe-to-toe with Jarlin, Zora, and Squeaks. They make their way down. They're going to suffocate them. They're building on their heads. There's nothing they can do. Speedy steps out in the zone. The big beam comes out onto Squeaks, though, and Speedy makes his way down, and there's nothing he can do. That is a 10-point victory royale for Jarlin's team. 75 points. It's got to feel good, but it's still not enough. That is a massive game, but they're still not. I think that'll put them inside top 8, Monster, but they need another good game to hold it. If they mess up game 6, they're still not going to hold.
Yeah, there's so many teams now that are right there. They're in this conversation. So coming into this final game, the bar has been raised. They really have set it up a little bit higher. I mean, this is no small fry of players we're looking at right now. These are really some of the best of the best. And I mean, what upset are we going to see right here?
I mean, I don't know what upset we're going to see. We're going to have to run the leaderboard and see who jumped into the top 8 because we have one game to go on OCE Heat 2 qualifying week. And I don't know. Right now, we have the best heat on offer from OCE. So many big names, and they're just outside. Was Fresh's run good enough? Was Zora's run good enough? Vandy, you'll have to break it down for us because this is going to be incredibly close.
Thanks, casters. As you said, once we see the standings, I think a lot will become clear there. There's going to be a lot of movement for sure, but Jarlin, Zora, Squeaks, they're currently ranked 20th last time we checked in with them. And then on the back now of 10 elims and a victory royale, Fallout, this is the opportunity. This is the one big game that you were kind of hinting towards that they needed.
Absolutely. That was a massive game number 5. We manifested that. We brought it to existence. And guess what? The veterans, Zora and Jalen, do it alongside Squeaks. Huge game for them. They obviously did a great job holding high ground and showing their experience and maintaining that high ground until the end, and then winning the 3 versus 3 fight with the slight advantage against our first place team. And Luder, Muzz, and Speedy, kudos to them. We said it. All it takes is one big game, and they got it, Timmy.
Yeah, and there's a few different stories coming on from here. This story of Kazi surviving in the dumpster and then making it through the lake. I'm not too sure when they got taken down, but I don't think they had a huge game. Will it be enough to secure that? We don't know just yet. We'll see when the standings come up. But Vortex, Jason Basil went on a bit of a spree in going into mid game. But the big story of this game was, as you said, Jarlin, Squeaks, and Zora. They had height at half, and they retained the whole way through an extremely vertical zone, one where height would look to dominate. 10 kills. I'm surprised we saw that many kills from them, Fallout, because there's so many builds they have to shoot through. But getting that many elims shows how good they are, how experienced they are with the angles, the communication, making sure everything works and clicks together. So really impressed by that performance, Fallout.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The main storyline absolutely was with Jalen and co. But the second storyline, well, it was Speedy, Muzz, and Luder fragging out on the mid-ground. They actually were able to take out the second place team, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. And then from there, they continue just fragging out. Really, really good job from them. You'll see them with 10 eliminations themselves to match the 10 eliminations for our first place team. And you're right, with how high and the crazy verticality we saw there in that game, you wouldn't expect a team with high ground to be able to get as many eliminations as they did. But I think they recognized they're pretty far behind in 20th place. They needed to frag out. They needed a big elimination game. Well, they got it, Vandy. 50-point game for them. That might put them in the top 8. I think it will.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look because I have the standings ready for us to all take a look at, and we are keen to see exactly where Jarlin, Zora, and Squeaks have placed. But Timmy, why don't you kick us through how these standings are looking so far before we get into game number 6?
Well, I'm looking fantastic because my prediction, Muzz, Luder, and Speedy up there in number 1, 229 points. A ridiculous performance from them so far. With one game to go, I expect that to continue going into last game. 118 points, crazy good amount of points. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy in second. Basil, Jason, Vortex. Those 3 teams really showing us what they're made of this session, and then rounding out top 5 Raptor, Frizzy, and Oakley. Fallout.
And that sets us up for a perfect game 6 to see who's going to win it, because either of those top 2 teams can win it. Let's take a look at our second page here, because that's the page I want to see the most. Ooh. And there you have it, 7th place. It's going to be Jalen, Zora, and Squeaks. They squeak on into the top 8. They are currently within the qualifying spot, but look at how close the differential is from 6th to all the way to 10th. Only 20 points separates them. Let's keep going through the standings here and take a look, because honestly, whoever goes big from 9th to 16th place could sneak into the top 8 in game 6. They have to do it again if you're Zora and Jalen, Timmy, as we take a look at 11th through 15th, and let's sneak on over to 16th through 20th. I'm interested to see where we're at there.
Yeah, teams to look out for: Jalen, Squeaks, and Zora. And everyone else in that sort of 12th to 15th range as we round out these guys here. These guys, one of these teams might have a big game, but I think that the real story going into this last game, are those guys, and anywhere from 9th to sort of 15th, those guys can really make a push here to get out of the reboot stage and into the automatic qualifier stage. Fallout.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Honestly, even looking right there at 19th place with 43 points, it was Botlin, Fluz, and Kuma. They could do it. They could sneak into top 8 with a really, really big game. So it's going to be anyone's game here for top 8. And then, of course, also keep in mind the 9th through 16th teams make it to the reboot round. That'll be a crucial threshold as well, Vandy.
I'm glad that you guys were touching on that, because for me, it felt as though 8, 9, 10, there's still a lot of movement that could happen between that. And that's the difference between having to play the reboot round tomorrow at the end of the day, or making sure that your ticket is punched and ready for finals next week. So this is, I think, where it's going to be do or die. This is probably the most exciting match coming on up. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I cannot wait for this game 6. This is one of the most hyped game 6s I've watched in a while, with so much at stake because, again, there's no prize pool. Ozzy said it. I think maybe Monster said it. No prize pool here, which means you have to go big right now. This is going to be an amazing game 6. I cannot wait.
All right, well, let's check in with our esteemed casters. Let's check in with Big Brain Ozzy and Monster. Guys, game number 6, we want to hear the hype.
Game number 6, you want to hear the hype. You're going to get the hype right now. We have only 10 points separating 13th from 8th right now. So there are 5 teams that are less than 10 points away, 5 eliminations from trying to get inside the top 8, scrambling for it to jump up. This is the last chance they have to qualify here. Game number 6 of OCE semifinals Heat 2. And man, Monster, I mean, we couldn't have asked for better. Not only is it close, it's got the big names. We have Zora's team just in 7th. We have Fresh's team in 10th after huge games from both of them. If any of them go down now, the dream is over. The story ends there for one of them. So eyes on the map, it's going to be intense.
Yeah, this is a fight to steal the thunder. Like, literally now is the time to set yourself up. Put your name on the big stage here. It's close. I say all the way down to the top 19 teams or so, anywhere from 40 points and above. It really just depends on how it all starts to get divvied out here and now. You can see all of a sudden, though, Holly has a team there. So Nubatoon being contested. Is it Carpets and Company on top of Fresh and crew here? This is scary considering they haven't been contested up until this point. All different kinds of fights breaking out as well. Misty Metals has a contestation. Colossal Coliseum now as well. So TP's trio. These are all teams in the bubble. These are teams in top 8 being contested.
Honestly, I kind of like this of Fresh's team. Fresh's team was looking better out of Holy when they were contested than when they weren't. They had to fight for it in scrims in the early days when they first said they wanted to go Holy, and they won it almost every time. They've been struggling a bit here today, their last game being their best game by far. I honestly think someone contesting him here early, if they have the confidence to fight them and they have the aggression, it could work out really, really well for them. Nubatoon, phenomenal mechanical player. Fresh, we know in the early game fights is going to be insane. Unfortunately, doesn't have his hand on a shotgun there though, only the pistol and the compact SMG, so I don't know whether they'll be able to close it out. But again, not all hope is lost. I think things look good for them right now as we have Chance and Overstrand who have managed to find themselves close to top 8. Unfortunately going down. I coined them as the content creator team, and I know they'll take no insult to me saying that they go down 15th, which means they have the potential to slip out even of that 16th and not make the reboot round. Super unfortunate to see them go down so early.
Yeah, that might just be it for them. They're here and now. Oh, so close yet so far. Nubatoon is going to find the beams that he's looking for. It's the heavy AR that connects there. Must have been a headshot as well. Fresh is going to find some loot there too from Rao's big pickup, so the thirst comes through.
There it is.
Perfect for a team that needs elims. Perfect for a team on the bubble. This could be a major 6-point swing to put them, again, one step close to the top 8. How close were they before that coming in? I think they were just a team outside of it. Yes, exactly. 6 points will put them in top 8 here.
That's it. They were in 10th place. You touched it on there perfectly. 3 eliminations, 6 points is enough to get top 8. I said it just then. This is a good thing for Team Fresh if they can win it. That is not what you want to see from Nubatoon. Nubatoon is the firepower on this team. Rel comes through, though, and managed to clean things up. They have the reboot van there. I don't think things will be too bad. They're still getting good points. We see some of the clown emotes coming out. Let's see if they can go find them. Unfortunately, the teammate has had the time to disengage now towards the Viking ship, which is going to cut into their loot. And now the time that they have to spend to reboot Nubatoon is going to cost them a lot of time. They still won the fight, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy, 4 points on the board, but Nubatoon just had to be a little bit more patient there. That was technically a 3v1. If you just waited a bit longer with the teammates back up, they wouldn't have to reboot, but 4 points. Let's see if they can do it.
Yeah, definitely one step closer to where they need to be. Here's Caden, Win, and Hello. Remember, these guys are still fighting for what could be their reboot round slot, if you will. You still have to, battle for that as well. So the competition's not over by any means. If you want a shot at the FNCS Grand Final stage, the big final stage, you do have to fight tooth and nail. You have to claw your way up no matter how far you are behind for those top slots.
Yeah, even pushing into top 16. He touched on it there. Everything matters right now. The top place matters. Who's it going to be? Is Speedy's team going to walk away with it? Can Jinx manage to overtake them right now? Who's going to get the bragging rights? Who's going to get top 8 with the automatic qualification? Who's going to get top 16 for the chance to play in the reboot round? These qualifiers are so exciting. These semi-final heats are insane because it matters on all points of the leaderboard. And when you get to game 6 and it's this close, as Thrusty gets really close to Cray there before going for the big beam as Angie backs them up, and unfortunately somehow coming out worse for wear despite having the ambush there as Cray gets a snipe in the back. That's not what you want to start a fight like this.
Yeah, worst case scenarios, another trio jumps in and then hits you, and it's Djokovic from the island there looking on in from Coral Castle. Their loose spawn is so wide split that he's able to find these free tags here. The Rusty and crew are going to get their heels on while Lucas is putting a little pressure down low, or who's an Absol there who's in the mix. Lucas is going to get his heel on, and now they're looking to jump on in. This is another team that has to fight for top 16.
Yeah, they have to fight for that top 16 as now it's a 2v3. Potentially the players there right now coming through. Never mind, making it look like it's pretty much a 1v1 here. Wavy Angie just stepping out on all these walls. Left-hand peek. That blue tack is really being put to work right now. The big damage coming out is Controller Cray right now in the backseat. Does have the shotgun, but has that blue submachine gun, so could maybe put that to work, especially if we are on the controller. As Thrusty goes down here, Wavy Angie's coming in. I want to see this man's damage stats from this fight. It'd have to be 500 damage at least by now, just putting it out on every single player as Djokovic is in here now and Perry's going to push up in here too. So this has turned into an all-out brawl. I said it, Heat 1 was incredibly unstacked compared to the other games. The final game, I have to imagine that it's going to be the same here as we only have 73 live monster. People are playing aggressive.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a war on all fronts. It has to be if you want to qualify through. Djokovic is they're in a completely different situation though, right? Looks like they wiped up the team that might have been landing as Shark. So Rip and Piri here. Again, 3 eliminations, not bad at all for them. That's a big jump up. They're just outside that qualification mark. If they can find these 2 here, that's huge for them now.
That's huge for this team, and they need something. 52 points. It's just crazy how many teams can jump up into this one and try to take it out here as Angie's pushing forward there, and unfortunately goes down. They do. Piri, Ripple, and Djokovic there, 56 points. That is 5 eliminations for them right now. 10 points, Monster. They're leaving it all out there. They are not aiming for reboot round. They're aiming for top 8.
Yeah, definitely. They're in the top 8. Fight for it now. Here's TP Spy. Here's the team that's also in the fight for top 8. Man, this is a fight that means a lot. Colossal Coliseum hasn't been contested for them, but they've been rotating, keeping these battles in and staying true to it. Every single time up until now, they've won these early game fights, walking away with 3 eliminations, round after round. It'd be so bad to lose it now, and it is up against Jace, Basso, and Vortex. They had this same fight that didn't end before against this same team just at the Tomato Town. They barely got away with their lives. Barely. Spy, who pulls off a cheeky quick save on the team. Or was it Kazi? I think it was Kazi who was inside the dumpster. Either way, last game, they were playing with house money.
Yeah, that's it. And I've just gotten word as well. Unfortunately, our 6th place team, Shane BK's team, did not connect into this game. So they've got to sit back and see if their 6th place can hold. But that looks even better for teams like TP team who need to jump up and take over their spot because they're sitting on the donut this game guaranteed. They can't get any points. Pressure's on you to make something happen to try and jump in front of them as Zora Jalen and Squeaks. They've got a lot of pressure on them, but they're coming off the back of big momentum. Having a victory out in game number 5, going into game number 6, needing a big performance, same as Fresh's team here. They just won the spawn fight. They got the nerves out. They're feeling good. As long as they stay composed, I'm looking at Nubatoon there. I think they can bring this one home.
Yeah, it's crazy because Zora Jalen, I mean, last week they were swinging for the fences and they just pulled it off. And it seems like we're watching the same repeat story here again, where everything is coming down to this final game. They did pick up the Victory Royale already. So, tiebreakers are in their favor. That does sometimes end up what it comes down to. Here, though, the zone coming up this way, favoring everyone towards this Colossal Coliseum. You can see teams are starting to migrate on in. It's another scary crew down there. That was Muzz. Now hopping in with Fresh here, though. They're on the rotate.
They're on the rotate, and this zone isn't too terrible for them. And again, the biggest thing about that I talked about, I'm not scared about them having it. Right now it is. This is really, really good for Team TP. This means Team TP is safe from the hunters at their door. Luda, Speedy, and Muzz are going to work their way into this. This is your first place team, though. They could go down here. All pressure on Muzz as we see Basil rocking the unconventional skin coming here into this end game right now. We got the Candy Cane getting put to action. I think we also had a snowman that we were getting rocked by Jace. So, I don't know, going for a bit of a Christmas winter vibe here as TP VP getting some kind of payback. They're taking shots as it is. It's Russian that takes down Speedy. So this could be good surge tags for them, potential eliminations. But either way, they're safe from Jace's team now that's been playing very, very aggressively towards them.
And you know they're looking at the feed as well. They see exactly who's fighting one another down low. It's two of the biggest teams in this competition right now, two of the best performing teams thus far. These last 5 games have been just phenomenal for our top 4 squads coming into this. Basil is going to be the ones out on top, and that looks like Muzz. The caster picks are down there with Looter and Speedy. Great run so far. What a dominant day in performance.
Yeah, it means maybe Jinx, Alec, and Worthy can overtake them. They need a big game here, as right now Zora and Squeak setting up for the reboot onto Jarlan, which right now they've got the builds for it. They've kind of got the big base around it. Looks like they're going to be able to get it off here at Salty Towers and have to hit the rotate, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Do you see something that I don't see, Monster? We see Zora and Squeaks. No, Squeaks off in the distance. I'd say Zora's not with Jarlan. Squeaks has got a whole team chasing him. He's hitting the 0 point fish. Zora's hitting the reboot onto Jarlan. I don't know what's going on, but they didn't actually hit the reboot. Did they maybe not get the card? Was Squeaks getting the card? I don't know what's happening, Monster. I don't know. Either way, our team that needs to clutch up here in 7th place is now down to a duo.
And it's another bubble fight here. Fresh round, Nubatoon versus Piri. We saw what they were just doing just outside the zone, and now it's all pressure out to Fresh. Fresh here does have a lot of mats, so he can sustain this pressure. This is a fight for the qualification spot. Piri, Rip, and Djokovic, they do have 5 elims. Remember, this is your Coral Castle team. Won the Shark fight. Nubatoon's in it. He's down to 1 HP. Rao's down low as well. It's up to Fresh. Fresh's going to connect. He's going to swing it around and wins his exchange. Massive for him now. This gives his team hope.
Big damage. I talked about it earlier. Fresh with that tactical shotgun. He's got some of the most consistent aim in the world, especially when pressure's on right now. This fight is qualification for Fresh's team, or it's not. He didn't qualify for last FNCS Grand Final. He spent more time practicing this one than any other. Ripple goes down. Nubatoon's got a little bit of health back. Fresh going in. Rel going in. They need to close this out. They need to take down this team. Can they do it? Piri's on 2 HP. Fresh comes out on top again. The tac shotgun being put to work. 2 eliminations on the board for Fresh, 2 for Rel, 1 for Nubatoon. That is 73 points. That has pushed them inside top 8 currently. They need to close this out, but they are doing it in fashion right now. They are fighting their way through it, but that went through a lot of their reserves, Monster.
I mean, I got my hands in the air right now. That was crazy. It was so close. It's a nail biter. And now the long rotate to make it to the new zone. And they don't have sand. It doesn't look even like they have vehicles to lean on, as these teams you're watching right here have already taken the cars and boogied on out of here. It's Absol. You saw him rotating nice and late out the zone with Lucas there. Didn't even want to jump in the fight. No heals on deck for them. They're getting tagged from Frosty's crew, who's down behind them. And again, these guys are just looking to try and stay alive right now for a top 16 placement. Even that looks out of the question. Frosties, realistically, they can still fight for top 8.
They can still fight for top 8, and these are looking like pretty good eliminations. Absol's on about 10 health there. They've got about 10 points, I believe, as a team, so definitely not one of the stronger teams here today, as Frosty's really trying to make their way in. 3 eliminations already on the board. That's looking like it's about to be 4, and they wipe them out of it, and that's 5 eliminations now. That is 10 points. OCE showing up like OCE does. The aggression coming out, and I think that might be Fresh's team that is rotated nearby in the car. It was Fresh's team. They have the surge. They're probably going to keep hitting that car to try and go center. Maybe set up on that northern hill towards Craggy if they can. It'd be a good sideline area to set up on. They do want to try and go more center of this 3rd zone, seeing if they can then make their way to 4th zone, because they have their Storm Surge, but they do have a team approaching on them close. So, man, this is going to be a tight one. We have Squeaks and Zora now here as a duo, trying to hold on to their 7th place. I mean, if they could both make it top 8, it would be amazing, Monster, but I don't know. I think one of them is going to push the other out.
And what a great zone, though, for Nubatoon, Rel, and Fresh. They're going to get it dead center coming into zone 3 right here. A little bit of high ground to play with as well, as they're just underneath. They did find a vehicle, so they even have that to play on. More loot they find here, too. So a refresher of sorts. Their med kits, minis, everything. They're back in the game here. This is a huge comeback story for Fresh, Nubatoon, and company. Taker gets taken out, though, by another team that was just outside of the bubble there. It's Vortex and crew. These guys are just running through, right? This is a top, what are they in 3rd place right now?
Yeah, they're in third place right now. They're doing it on one less game. They lost their game. They didn't connect into one of them. It's not going to matter. They still qualified, but just shows how dominant they are. And yeah, that was our 12th place team, Taker's team. Just went down there on 61 points, picking up 0 points this game. So they're hoping their top 16 holds for the reboot round. But unfortunately, they will guaranteed not be making top 8, not making it through to the grand finals. And again, if you've just tuned in, you don't know why we're focusing on top 8 so much. This is the final game of the semi-final Heat 2 for OCE. Top 8 teams are going through to the grand finals next weekend to play for a share of $90,000, 12 games across both days. But 9th to 16th has a chance to play in the reboot round as Basil, Vortex, and Jace are colliding here with Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, making my pick to win today look a little bit worse here. They're pushing the 200 points, but they're running into third here, second versus third, as we do have, again, some interesting skin choices.
Yeah, you know, they're just comfortable. They're vibing out here, playing into these final games here. This is it. It's the final stretch, the race for the end. And third place versus first place. How it's going to work out here. Alec and Worthy on the other side. And yes, they are going to take the fight. This is for all the marbles here. It's actually a second place team, but you know, it's still the top Titans in the game right now, fighting it out right here. And this is it a viable fight? Who cares? Who knows? Jace, Vortex, and Basil make it look easy, and Worthy gets taken out right there.
Yeah, same thing. I think, again, it's for a little bit of pride. It's just for the fun of it. Again, I talked about how a lot of these teams who know they've qualified, they will transition into arena mode and they'll just start playing to have some fun with it. They've got the practice. They've shown that they can hang with the best of the best. Now it's time to make statements coming into grand final as Alec has to play here as a solo. Zora's hanging in from behind too. So Zora's in there. Squeaks is still in there and they're in a decent spot. If they get half their monster, that could be the recipe for success they need. Same as we have Fresh, Rel, and Nuvatoon here. We're hitting the Fresher mode. I mean, if you're a Fresh fan, you know the pump and nickel. That is the OG calling card of Fresh. As Jace goes down here, Basil looking pretty weak as well. Vortex having to do something big. Our top place team, one of the biggest fraggers and keys on the map, are just getting ran through by, I don't even know who. I think it's just a whole lobby focusing them.
Yeah, but honestly, the more Elam's Vortex, Jason, Basil get, the better for those teams on the bubble here that are trying to fight up, because they're just stealing away the points. They're top housing it. They're making it nice and top heavy. So everything down low that comes up allows them to raise the tide pretty high. That's a good thing for these guys.
Yeah, that does make it even closer. Those teams have been playing spoiler, like Muzz's team, like Jinx's team, that have 4 of our 5 wins here so far today right now are in this one. That's same with Jace's team going down. I think so far that means only Zora's team would be the only team with a victory royale that's still standing as a decent trio, as Team TP managed to survive the keying of Basil, Vortex, and Jace earlier. Came into this game on 9th place. Like, we cannot tell you guys watching from home how close this leaderboard is. This is literally anyone's game. And not only anyone, some of the favorites to win here today, or at least go through to the grand finals, are in that risk period. You have Squeak Zora right now on 75 points. You have Fresh's team, I think last time we tuned in, on mid 70 points too. So it is between them. And here it is, our 8th place team. We just got eyes on 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And they're all within 5 points of each other, still alive, going into 18 teams alive. The next team that goes down, placement points will begin to be divvied out one at a time for every team that goes down. But it's that top 3 monster. If any of those teams around top 8 get top 3, that's what's going to give them the ticket to grand finals.
Yeah, and not to mention that Kunai, Cami, and Maki, yeah, they might have come in at 8th place, but listen, the point swings that already have been picked up by these other teams like Squeaks and Zora, like Fresh, Nubaton, and Rel they're already over them, right? So them not pacing themselves with eliminations, that actually means that they're trailing behind now. They are no longer in the top 8. So that is a neck and neck race now. And it's, again, anyone's game here. So we have to continue to keep a close eye out, as now one of the most important zones that we're going to watch here unfold for all of these teams here, all of our bubble team, it will be the half in, half out zone.
How is Basil and Vortex still in this? So they lost Jace, but Basil and Vortex as a duo feel fine to still keep playing aggressive, and very, very unfortunately, if you're a Zora and Squeaks fan right now, it is onto them as they're just trying to avoid them. And that's the scary part. When you start playing a defensive game, that's where things can go really badly. As I say that, never mind though. Squeaks and Zora go up onto the top, trying to get the piece control on them from top down. I like this for them. And I think they get zone. I think Zora and Squeaks have zone here. This is huge, but they have a team biting at their heels, annoying them, pestering them, when they could have gone up and actually taken advantage of this. And here it is, Zora and Squeaks lose high ground. It's to Team TP. They take it off them. If Russian can hold it, and looks like Nubatoon has been sniped from Kazi, but they get a knock. That's a good 2-point swing if they can hold it. No fire coming out, so Rel's putting out the pressure. Doesn't need to hold the builds. This is so freaking close, Monster.
Yeah, definitely. And now you can see Team TP gives up a little bit of that placement to go ahead and make a rotate, play for some refreshers there. They're trying to do anything in their power to stay alive. On your screen right now, 3 teams that need to qualify. Raul has to rotate all the way across. TP who has half and half out. Squeaks and Jalen who are putting in pressure right here. They're going to find themselves a nice knock as well. And look at the points. 66, 75, 79. If anyone goes down, it is all over. You are sent back to the drawing board, back to the reboot round. You're going to have to fight your way through this one. It is top 8. That matters here.
That matters as well. And any of these teams have the caliber to walk away with that prestigious victory royale in the reboot round, but you don't want that pressure on. You don't want to have to wait. You want to try and make it now. You want to have your big stands. Like I said, the pressure is on Team Fresh. Didn't make the grand finals for the first time last FNCS. Had to sit back and watch it play out. Did not want to have that repeat occurrence. Fresh has been practicing as hard as any other pro in the region, playing all the scrims, really wanting to have that big performance. They're on second height right now, or roughly around second height. There is a team above them that has taken it, and it's Seiku's team. This is a team we haven't been talking about in the top 8, but when wins are worth 30 points right now, eliminations are worth 2. They have 0 limbs, but if they can get the victory royale, that would be massive points for them right now. They've only got 1 placement point this game. That means 29 points up for offer, even without an elimination. This is anyone's game.
And Cammy and Maki are still up, right? We still have them in. We still have who I saw there, another team that's just outside of it, which was Rex and Ernan. So there's so many other teams still in this question that we haven't even gotten the chance to even cover, but they're all so very close. So don't be surprised if someone sneaky just all of a sudden pops on the radar, because it is that close. There's too many teams, not even enough ops to cover them all, but we're trying to cover who is the closest, and it is these guys right here. Fresh, Squeaks, Cammy's trios, all of which were all coming in so close, and the points still are replicating that. All these teams are also below the threshold. Maki's below, Squeaks is below, Fresh and Crew are way above, so they're looking comfortable.
That's not looking good at all. A lot of these teams would have stopped looking for their Storm Surge thinking the lobby was clearing out, but that was just the players that were playing aggressive and the players at the top. The players who are still in this, they slowed down. Storm Surge is going to go active here. It's going to be an issue. But for Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon, things are looking good. They're on front side. They're in a very congested spot. They need to try and make their way through. Again, I talk about it. Fresh had the tack shotgun. He had that win condition that we know he needs best. YU has the high ground. They have their win condition to see what they can do here as Maki making their way through as a duo, though. Kunai has fallen. Kami and Maki need to do something. Maki pinned the back foot. Right now, Basil spraying them out. They go down. That is so unfortunate for a team. This is everything on Kami right now. All the pressure is there. Needs to do something huge, and no, they fall. That is one of our teams that won't be making it. Fresh is trying to get it. He's trying to harpoon the loot back up. That's not just a placement swing. That's not a point swing. That's a loot swing now. That's everything Fresh's team needs, and they've got old builds to go through. This is looking fantastic. Storm Surge has gone active, and they are way above. Kazi's below. The damage comes out right now. They're taking on Team Mania. They're taking one of our top 4 teams on when they need it for the Surge. They need it for the qualification, and they managed to pull it off. But unfortunately, they lose Spy. Kazi and Russian have to push through now, but they've evaded Storm Surge. They can keep moving.
And Zora's team as well, they managed to just barely stay alive now. Look at how close it is. It's still an 80-point tie-up between Nubatoon's team and Zora's team. 2 favorites to come into this whole thing. And look, on high ground, it does exchange chances. Lynx, Osway, and Hicksel there up above and still down low now. Zora's going to go in and fight it off. They're going to fend off Jory, so he's still in this game here. Zora's going to find another one. Those are more points swinging in his favor there. 2 points for Squeaks there. Nubatoon's going to find another knock as well. It's a neck-and-neck race. It's like literally choose your poison. Every single layer has someone battling their entire run here in the game.
Someone is trying to qualify and someone's not going to. They are pushing the points higher and higher. We've had top placing teams really take the kind of the mantle here and push the leaderboard forward. But now it's all these teams on the bubble. Freshwell and Nubatoon here. They have so many eliminations, 7 on the board total, 88 points. If they can get this top 3, it would be everything. Any team that gets top 8, they need the top 3. Can they push through? Zora goes down here. Squeaks is still in this. He's got 90 points. He drops back to play the floppers. He's in zone though. He's playing zone. Rel goes down to Vortex though, but it's a knock. It's not a finish. Where is Fresh and Nubatoon? They're above this. They're avoiding it. 7 teams still alive. They need top 3. Zora's team needs top 3. Fresh's team needs top 3. Everybody needs it as Fresh is pushing forward. They only have 2 builds left. He has to go down. Has to go down into the depths. As you said, the Crips monster to try and make something happen. They're trying to avoid the Predator. I have no idea who's going to be able to come on top in this one.
There's still hope. There's still hope for all of these teams here. Hope for Squeaks here, who's going to find new platoon. Oh, no. And Fresh goes down as well. And that's going to give Squeaks the lead here. He is going to have 3 elims, and he just jumps up just over Fresh's trio ever so slightly as a solo. And now he falls in 5th place. Will that be enough? Is it enough? Is it realistic enough to hold them in here? Spraz and Remy, who are also on the bubble, are still in this game. They can still fight for top 3. I don't know if they're going to have enough points, but it's going to be so close here.
It is. It's going to be Spraz's team versus Prizzy here if they can try and do something. Remy's there on 86, so no, they're falling even shorter than Fresh. I don't know if Fresh's points are going to hold. Raptor clearly has this one. Raptor, Oatly, and Prizzy had a massive game. Look at those eliminations. Look at the victory royale.
Oh
what
my
is
gosh.
that? That is a 17 elimination victory royale to finish on 152, but the story's got to be there. Was Zora, Jarl, and Squeaks' points enough? Was Fresh, Rel, Nubatu's points enough? It was so close at the end. Genuinely, we don't know, Monster. I don't know. I'm not the best at math at times, but it is going to be one of the tightest leaderboards with the biggest names we've ever seen.
Yeah, look, Raptor, Prizzy, and Oatly, we're calling them out to be up there and trying to hold their spot, and they did just that. They were in 5th place after that. They're definitely jumping up after that one. And the upset for Fresh, the exchange between them and Zora, too. It can go any which way right now.
I mean, at the same time, we talked about it. Any team that comes from 9th to 16th, which is going to be all those teams we were just hyping up then, they have a chance in the reboot round. And honestly, that is the most exciting round of any FNCS. So if you're a fan of them, don't be too disappointed because maybe they clutch up with the Cinderella story and come in with the last victory out. But that is it for us here. My name's Aussie Antics, Monster D-Face. We've been on the horn. This has been one of the most exciting tournaments I think we've casted in a long time. We're going to be back again tomorrow for heat number 4, but we'll have to see. For now, we're going to throw it to the analysts so they can break down that ridiculous leaderboard. I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for it.
Thank you so much, guys. You did not disappoint. We felt the hype right over here. I mean, we don't even live in the same state, and I was feeling it. So thank you, guys. And I mean, Timmy, Fallout, how do we feel about this? Because it's kind of too close to call. We really do need to see the updated leaderboard once it's ready.
Yeah, to be honest, I just cannot wait to see this leaderboards because we're all shaking our heads like, who qualified? Who made it through? It's anyone's game at this point. I think 6th or 7th, all the way through 13th or 14th, we're all neck and neck. I cannot wait to see who ends up on top as we take a look at the replays here, Timmy.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely tight. I mean, we've seen, 3 or 4 teams there make a really good bid to start their qualification, and man, it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be very interesting, Paula.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I'm glad we have a chance to take a look at these replays here because it's going to essentially replay the entire game. And exactly what you just said, throughout the game, it's almost like this shift in narrative, right? You have one team that you're rooting for, whether it's Fresh and Rel, and then all of a sudden TP, they find themselves in a good position. They get taken out. You don't know who to cheer for. You don't know who the protagonist is throughout because honestly, there were so many teams. And I got to give a kudos and shout to our observer team. They caught the action so incredibly well with our top teams here. But one thing you do know for sure, Basil, Vortex, and Jace, well, they fragged out with, I think, 12-plus eliminations, Timmy.
Yeah, and I think the teams that we've got to keep an eye out for here, Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon, the Kazi's team, TP, and then, of course, Jarl and Zora and Squeaks. Those guys are going to be really making their pushes. But other teams that we can think at Hixel, the guys who actually ended up coming second, they were in 20th place before now. Where does that second put them? How many elims did they have? We aren't really sure. So, man, the leaderboards might be completely shaken up after this, not just from 1 through 8, but then also through 9th through 16th, those guys that are qualifying for reboot round.
Yeah, it's very true. Team that got second place, Remy, Pace, and Spraz, they were in 14th place with 58 points. And keep in mind, 8th place was 72 points kind of going into that one. So honestly, that was just a very, very small differential, a 14-point differential there. It could be anyone's opportunity to qualify. As we take a look at the final replays, though, one thing you do know for sure, the highest elim game we had with Rapta, Oatly, and Prizzy, 17 eliminations in a dominant game number 6 for them.
That's an incredibly dominant game, and it just comes down to again, this was way back at the beginning of the broadcast, but we're weighing up those eliminations plus also placements, and that's what it comes down to. But it does sound like our standings are ready. So without further ado, let's see who managed to punch their ticket in for finals tomorrow, and let's see who has to play the reboot round tomorrow. But before we can jump into that, a big, big congratulations to Muzz, Luda, and Speedy. I mean, Fallout, how do you feel about this? Because you called it.
I will actually, no, Timmy
No,
called it. I gotta
Timmy
give
called
credit
it.
where credit's due. I'm
called
hanging
that.
my head here, but nothing to be ashamed about. The two teams that the casters and analysts called placed first and second place, which was awesome. But congrats to my man Timmy on calling it. Muzz, Luder, and Speedy take home first place, and major congratulations to them. That gives them a boost of confidence going into the grand finals.
It really does. I mean, to come off so clean on the back of so many one victory royale, but the eliminations, they were really playing towards their strengths, right, Timmy?
Yeah, extremely good fighting team. You got someone in Speedy, who's a really good IGL. He can get them to play on the same page. And 59 elims over 6 games, just under 10 elims a game. That's just unbelievable. And basically a final setting, right? This is where everyone's really vying for that top 8 scenario, so they can automatically qualify for finals. To see that many elims is just unbelievable.
I mean, this day has been a whole shakeup because it kind of seemed as though we had like the narrative written from about game 1 to 4, it felt like. Then suddenly just match 5 and 6 is really where things just shook us up. Like, we really didn't know what to see. Those results that I promised are ready, so let's take a look at them. And Fallout, why don't you tee it off for us?
Absolutely. So we'll start off with our top 5 here, and we'll take a look. No surprises by any means. Our top 3 were the teams that consistently fragged out. Big shout to Rapta, Prizzy, and Oatly, though, as they made themselves really put them in contention with the top or S tier of this lobby here with that last game. And then again, big shout out goes to Mania and team, Trexie, Mania, and co. Massive showing from them. 5th place for them. But this is the next page that I'm looking forward to. Timmy, walk me through it. Let's take a look and see who qualifies.
Oh yeah, this next page is the big one, and there we go. Fresh and Raul do qualify. Zora, Jalen, and Squeaks do qualify, and then just as we said at the end of the broadcast there, Fury, Remy, Pace, and Spraz squeak in just ahead of, unfortunately, the guys Shane BK, Kwam, and Kimber. I really feel for you guys. Those guys, if you aren't aware, they didn't manage to load into the final game, so they weren't able to put up a fight for that final spot, but we'll see them again in the reboot round. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they can do well there. Other people who made it into the reboot round, Sight, Gazer, and Cuts, but really big shout out to Fresh, Rail, Noob, Batoon, Remy, Pace, and Spraz, and then Zora, Jal, and the Squeaks for clutching up that experience, really being the difference maker there, Fallout.
Yeah, gotta agree with that. Of course, the duo and with Zora and Squeaks having a clutch when it mattered the most, and leave it to Fresh, none other than the captain of clutch. In my opinion, the most clutch player in Oceania is Mr. Fresh Asian, as Fresh pops off in that game. Meanwhile, 11th through 15th, this will round out the teams, plus one more on the next page, that make it to the reboot round. Russian, Kazi, and Spy, Kunai, Kami, and Maki, who got actually dropped on every single game. They had a 50-50 their drop on the northwest side of the map and still fared very, very well. And you still have Sin, Frosties, and Fleeks, Taker, LZ, QMW, Puck, Johobo, YU, and Saku will make it to the reboot round as we take a look at our next page to see who the last team in the reboot round will be. I almost want a drum roll here. It's going to be Rovars, Gildosaurus Rex, and Erden. They make it through in 16th place, Timmy.
Yeah, and one team there, I don't know if you remember, the second place team, Hexel, Linux, and Alze. They were the ones who had height right at the end there. They weren't able to secure the win. Raptor was harpooning the builds out from underneath the Linux at the end there, and they just miss out on the reboot round. So I've got to give a big shout out to them for making the big plays at the end there, trying to take height, trying to be aggressive to make sure they try to qual, but just not enough Fallout.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is the difference between them getting a Victory Royale is the difference between them qualifying, because that is the tiebreaker, and they tied with 58 points. That is heartbreaking, but still, hat goes off to them for a great performance in game number 6. And of course, our power content creating squad that was just there barely did not qualify for reboot round, as well as you saw later down those standings, Vandy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and it is going to be a very interesting reboot round because only one team makes it out of the reboot round. So in a way, I don't know if it's like a punishment or a reward. We'll have to wait and see, because that will be tomorrow. But guys, any closing remarks before we wrap this day up? Because what a day it's been. Yeah,
I just got to say, FNCS and Oceania absolutely delivered. Big shout out to Epic Games for giving us a broadcast for every single qualifying tournament. Of course, the semifinals as well, because guess what? It was one of the most entertaining FNCS or competitive Fortnite games I've had a chance to analyze. So big shout out to Epic, and of course, a big shout out as well to all of our viewers, the entire Oceania community. I got a special place in my heart for y'all. It was a blast. Timmy, any final thoughts on your end?
No, just a crazy entertaining day. Those last 2 games had me on the edge of my seat. I'm sure you guys can vouch. I was screaming over here and making a lot of noise for my boys and then for everyone else who was on the edge of qualifying. So yeah, a big shout out obviously to AO for putting this on, and for everyone watching at home. We appreciate you tuning in, and yeah.
You guys always say it all for me. I don't even know what I'm left with, really. But I will say a big thank you to, of course, our casters, Aussie Antics and Monster. They brought the hype all day, especially rounds 5 and 6, where we could really feel it. Fallout and Timmy, of course, thank you again for lending us your big brains. And for everybody watching at home, we'll be here again, same time, same place tomorrow for day 2 of semifinals. So hope to see you there.